Okay, any doubt? So we were taking up poverty. There's a doubt actually from an online student. So there's a doubt in formula of poverty gap index and squared poverty gap index. So what is, I told you this one we have discussed, head count ratio or poverty ratio. So poverty ratio shows what? The extent of poverty. What percentage of people are poor. So poverty ratio shown by H. Then we have discussed poverty gap index. Poverty gap index. Okay, so there is a PGI. So what is PGI? I told you poverty line minus average income of poor. Average income of poor divided by poverty line. So this is the poverty gap index. Okay, so there is a doubt in this formula. So there is no, I think it's very simple. Now this is poverty gap index. For example, if like this is income level, and if poverty line is, let us suppose, make it simple, let us suppose poverty line is rupees 10, and average income of poor may be, let us suppose, 6 rupees. So what is PGI? Then PGI will be this 10 minus 6 upon 10, so it will be 4 upon 10, 0.4, or we can say 40%. Okay, so there's a doubt regarding this formula. Other is SPGI, squared poverty gap index. So what is squared poverty gap index? What we do in this, we actually calculate poverty gap of individual, each poor. Now we will actually use this formula for each poor, and then what we'll do, we'll square this. So what is SPGI? The formula I told you is n number of poors here, and here poverty line minus poverty line minus this income of first poor, and then we'll square it, divided by poverty line, plus poverty line minus income of second poor, square it, and poverty line similarly. So this is the formula. So what now what is the form here? Why we are squaring here? The objective of squaring is that larger the poverty gap, when you square that, this number will further increase. So we want to consider actually inequalities. Just like I told you, means two societies are there, two countries are there. Like in this poverty line, in this country, two people are here and here. Other two people are here. So average may be same here, average income. But here, when you square these two numbers, the sum will not be so much as when you square this number. Okay, so the objective is to give higher weightage to higher poverty gaps. So there was some doubt in this formula. So actually, formulas are not very important exactly. Like there was some, I think they have mentioned some means in internet there is some confusion. So there may be some mistake in that formula in internet, because there are some mistakes are there on some websites. But overall, formula is not very important. Important is concept. What SPGI shows? It shows actually the intensity of poverty, extent of poverty, taking into account what inequalities among the poor, simply. So how we consider inequality? By squaring this individual poverty gaps. So any doubt in this? No, we will estimate in any country or maybe any state, anywhere you can estimate. Like if you want to measure poverty ratio, so you can estimate actually in a country or in a state or in any area. So normally, usually measure in a country like India. So these could be measured like poverty ratio. You have to measure. You can measure in any region. It may be a country or maybe a state or maybe a smaller unit, maybe a district. Okay, how many people are poor in district? What is the average income of poor people in that district? So at any level you can measure. No, I have not seen any data because usually not reported. Huh.
PL minus by P1, the value is from less than 1, then it will be applicable or not.
Which value? This one?
The square term,
Huh.
when it comes the value is below 1, then it will be applicable or not. Square करेंगे तो और कम हो जाएगा ना.
If it may be less than 1.
1, then it will be applicable or not.
No, formula is this only. Like larger the poverty gap, larger income. But if it is less than 1, so poverty line minus income of poor. So if income is marginally less, so no problem. Because poverty gap is very low, negligible. So even if it reduces, it hardly matters. But problem is not with this person. Problem is with this person. This person must be severely deprived. So we have to increase this. If the gap is very minor, it is less than 1, it will further reduce, yes. If it is half, you will square, it will become 1/4, no problem. The number is already small. But here focus is that this number is large, so this will enlarge. For example, if it is 5, let's suppose, income of these people are 5 rupee. So square of 5, 10 minus 5, 25 plus 25, 50. Here let's suppose one person is having 1 rupee, one person is having 9 rupee. So 9 and 1. So gap here will be 1 rupee, 1 square 1. And 9, when you square 9, 81. So 81 plus 1, 82. So here 82 and here 50. So value of SPGI will be more here. So I think logic is clear.
So this is a concept based stuff. So can you draft a question which might be possible in UPSC?
In UPSC, this could be asked in prelims only. This cannot be asked in mains.
So what type of questions can come directly in prelims?
In prelims, I told you the questions could be, I have already discussed a few questions. Even I told you questions of mains, few questions on unemployment. No, on this topic, I don't think usually they don't ask conceptual questions as such in mains directly. They ask applied questions. I told you already questions that could be asked, that could be on actually trend of poverty in India. Even one question was asked, different committees actually estimated poverty at different levels, but all committees show there has been reduction in poverty. So it means that you have to focus on, you have to explain different methodologies. Poverty line was actually shifted, so that is why the number of poor increased. Like earlier, you know.
So we need to mention that poverty gap index and poverty ratio.
No, in that question you need not require to mention that. Apart from that, the question may be asked regarding the issues in poverty estimation, like is it too low? What should be the appropriate poverty line? Apart from that, the most important question could be compare the methodology of estimating poverty in India, used in India, with that of MPI. Which one do you think is better? Or do you think MPI should be introduced in India? Means elaborate its challenges. So this kind of questions could be asked. So in mains you cannot expect question on this. At the most in prelims, and only broad idea. You need not, and in prelims they will never ask exact formula. Like the question may be like which measures actually like which shows intensity of poverty considering inequality, like this could be asked. Or which one is most comprehensive measure of poverty which shows intensity of poverty in the most appropriate measure to measure intensity of poverty. So this kind of questions are like, what do you think which is most appropriate measure to measure intensity of poverty? SPI out of this. So I think it is clear.
What is the difference between poverty ratio and head count ratio?
Head count ratio, same thing. Poverty ratio and head count ratio is similar.
But according to analysis data, the poverty ratio is 21.9 and head count ratio is about 28.
No, those will be different data. I think you must have, somewhere they have used the word poverty ratio. Like in Tendulkar committee, as per Tendulkar committee, what is poverty ratio? 21.9. That is poverty ratio. And if we say, as per CM Ranjan committee, the head count ratio H is 29.1. So this may be the issue, I think. In one place they might have used a word, in one data this, in other data they might have used this word, but this is the same thing.
But there was this topic linked to major poverty, and there was one point in it to identify beneficiaries for developmental programs and such. Then sir told us to cut this point. What was the topic? I mean, this is a need.
No, I told you why we need to measure poverty. Like we should know level of development. If people are poor, then level of development should be low. I told you we have to design developmental programs. So we need to know how many people are poor or what is their status, what kind of program we should design. Then we need to assess the performance of those programs like Manrega, etc. Were they successful in reducing poverty? And one point I told you, we have to identify beneficiaries for welfare programs. Like in PDL, there is APL, BPL, the below poverty line. So government should give more subsidy to poor or rich, I mean the well-off, to poor. So earlier, BPL people means below poverty line were decided on the basis of this poverty line, official poverty line of Planning Commission. But there was criticism that poverty line is too low, Tendulkar poverty line is too low, even Supreme Court criticized. And some critics said that the objective of keeping the poverty line low is that government can reduce its expenditure. So what the point? If government will, instead of poverty line, this one government may reduce it to this. So number of poor will be this. So government has to pay these people only. So government can reduce expenditure. Is it possible? Yes or no? Yes, but government said that this is never our intention to reduce poverty line so that we can reduce developmental expenditure. So if you have any apprehension, anybody, so what we are doing now, we will not use this poverty line for identification of beneficiaries for any program. Now who is identifying beneficiaries? Either state governments or concerned ministries. Okay, so as I told you, like some ministries, they have set up their own committees or groups, expert groups to identify the beneficiaries. For example, like this Rural Development Ministry set up NC Saxena Committee, Urban Development Ministry Professor Hasim Committee. So different ministries have adopted their own system. So clear. So right, currently no actually beneficiary is identified on the basis of this poverty line. This is used only for analysis. Okay, how many people are poor now, and with our policies, how many they are, at what rate they are reducing. So I think it is clear. So logical. So earlier BPL was decided on the basis of this, but government now is using for analysis, and that is the reason I told you Niti Aayog it has selected which poverty line, Tendulkar poverty line. Although there was issues over that, it is too low, but still it selected that. Despite C. Rangarajan committee, or rather more latest is available. The logic given by Niti Aayog is that our focus is to focus on most vulnerable. So do you think is it logical or not? Yes. And since it is used only for analytical purpose only, not for identifying beneficiaries. So I think that is very much logical. And obviously the focus of government should be on most vulnerable, because economic reforms have benefited least which people? The most vulnerable. So these people have benefited much more as compared to them. But it should be very clear that poor have not become poorer in India. They are improving. Even data I told you, there has been a drastic reduction in poverty in India. Poverty has reduced at a very sharp pace. Like in MPI, from 2005-6 to 15-16 means in 10 years reduced to exactly half. And as per World Bank's poverty line, it is much more drastic. From 2011 till 18, it reduced from about 21 to 5%. So there has been a drastic reduction in poverty.
So sir, here we are talking about the national poverty line. But that is not required to use these subsidies that we don't need that.
I could not get your question. Simply, I just wanted to repeat that this poverty line is not used to provide subsidy to anybody.
How can we verify the only subsidy?
How we can verify? How we can identify people who are really poor? So that is decided by state governments. State government are using that.
Not by the national poverty.
No, it is not used. Now it is not used. Earlier this was used. The fourth point, as you may cut that, it means that now it is not used for this purpose in India. It may be used, earlier it was used.
So which data is used for that?
So I told you, state governments are using socio-economic and caste census of 2011.
Central government is not using it.
No, central government is not identifying directly. At national level, we are not identifying poor. Different ministries will identify beneficiaries for their own programs. We may call them poor, but not exactly poor. Got the point? So, like this Rural Development Ministry is using NC Saxena Committee to identify beneficiaries. Those beneficiaries, we may call them poor, but technically they are not poor. They should be beneficiaries of that particular program.
Can you say that person are getting benefits, government benefits from others,
under Mudra scheme. So no, they are in informal employment. Now it depends. If you are, there are three types of loan. Shishu is up to 50,000. So if you are actually establishing a business by investing 50,000 only, so most probably you should be in unorganized sector. It is unlikely company should be registered, and you may be employing maybe more than 10 in that. But in Mudra loan, there could be then Kishore and Tarun. Tarun is up to 10 lakh. But if you are investing a unit, you are investing 10 lakh rupees, the chances are that it may be in organized sector, it may be registered, you may be paying GST, may be possible.
The central government do not collect any data from state government.
Central government
Do not collect any data from state government.
do not collect. No, central government has its own agencies to collect data like CSO, LSO and some other surveys are conducted, census. So usually central government has its own system of collecting data. Rather most of the states, they use state central government data.
So why central government is not identified?
Some surveys may be conducted jointly. Just like this socio-economic and caste census was conducted by two ministries, Ministry of Rural Development and Ministry of Urban Poverty Alleviation, Urban Housing and Poverty Alleviation, along with the state government. That survey was conducted jointly by two ministries and state government.
So why central government is not identifying beneficiaries?
Earlier it was identifying beneficiaries on the basis of this poverty, but there was an issue, controversy, it is too low. That is why government said, okay, we are not using this.
It would be a big reason for poverty. Because
It will be a reason.
it will create an inequality, and different states will give
Different states, so you mean to say that it may increase inequalities. Okay, different states may have different criteria to identify poor. There could be both aspects, positive, negative, because now we can say on the other hand, you mean to say that one state may not be able to effectively identify poor, so poor may be left, but other aspect may be I think they are more, state governments are more means they can know the better ground realities in that particular state. Accordingly, they can identify beneficiaries. So both aspects would be there. So we cannot say that this may worsen the situation. Okay, any other doubt? Okay, now so we were taking up measurement of poverty. So I told you poverty ratio measures what? Extent of poverty. What percentage of people are poor? It shows severity, how poor they are, or on an average how much below they are living, below poverty line. And this we have discussed, it measures extent of poverty, severity, taking into account inequalities among the poor. Now one last measure in this is a SANE index of poverty. SANE index of poverty. So it must be given by which economist? Professor Amartya Kumar Sen. Professor Amartya Kumar Sen. So, who is Professor Amartya Kumar Sen? He is famous for what? Why? Uncertain Cloning, author of that. He is more important, more famous for HDI. Even much more famous for more than HDI. He got Nobel Prize. So in which year? In 1998. He got Nobel Prize. Okay, and he is from which branch of economics? They are broad, microeconomics, macroeconomics, monetary economics, public finance means government finances, growth and development, developmental economics, welfare economics. So he must be from which? From welfare economics. Welfare economics or developmental economics. So he is from this. And which is his core area of work? He got Nobel Prize for his which research? His research on poverty and famines. So he got Nobel Prize for his research on poverty and famines, and his core area of research is poverty and developmental issues. So I think it is clear. So you should have broad idea. Okay, he is from developmental economics, or we can say welfare economics, and he got Nobel Prize for his work on poverty and famines. So his one important core area of research is poverty. So he has given one measure of poverty, how to measure poverty. So you may mention that S is equal to H So S means SANE index of poverty. H means what? Head count ratio. Okay, so H is head count ratio. Means poverty ratio. head count ratio. I means actually poverty gap index, PGI. I means poverty gap index. This is one only. And again this is I means PGI. Okay, this is I, this is I. This is one. And this is what? G means? Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient. Okay, so here head count ratio is there, poverty gap index is there, and 1 minus I into G. So this is G means inequality, and this Gini coefficient which measures inequalities. Now, can you tell me what is this S? What it shows? Any idea? Same index. Obviously, what it shows. Now you can see that higher H, higher should be value of S. Okay, so higher, more poverty ratio, higher should be value. Acha, higher should be this overall, more should be this. So this depends on one this component brought. So higher the PGI, higher should be value. And it depends on this and this. So G shows inequality. So higher G, higher should be its value. So formula is not very important, you should have only idea. So what does this show? Can we say it is more comprehensive than these or less comprehensive? More comprehensive. Does it consider actually inequality, means extent of poverty? Yes. Does it consider severity of poverty? And it also considers what? Inequalities. Like we have discussed here, it measures, does it measure severity of poverty? No, only extent of poverty. Does it measure extent of poverty? No, it measures only severity. So how many percent, what percent of people are poor is not shown by this. Those people who are poor, how poor they are, it is showing this. But here, it is showing what? Extent is shown or not? No, it shows severity taking into account inequalities. So, but here it considers all. So it is a composite, can we say is a composite index of poverty, which takes into account the extent of poverty as well as severity taking into account inequality. So got the point here? So it is a composite. So one number will take care of all of these things, means will show extent, severity and take into account inequality of poverty. So this is this is a composite index of poverty. So shall I dictate? Or you may write down one line. So it is a composite index of, it is a composite measure of poverty. Which takes into account extent, severity, which takes into account extent, severity, extent and severity of poverty. Extent and severity of poverty. Considering inequality, considering inequalities. Considering inequalities. So it means simply it's a composite index of poverty. Composite means overall. So it considers extent of poverty, extent and severity of poverty, considering inequality. Means G will consider inequality. So simply just like one aspect is measured here, one aspect is measured here, it has clubbed together. Just like MPI, does value of MPI is also a kind of composite index? As I told you, MPI is what? Multi-dimensional index of poverty is H into A. So H is head count ratio, extent, and this measures severity of poverty. But so H shows what percentage of people are poor. Poor means deprived on 1/3 of the basic amenities, and A shows those people who are poor. So they are deprived on how many basic amenities. So almost somewhat like this. Just like it is a composite index, it considers both the thing, extent and severity. It also considers both the things. So I think it is clear. Okay, so this is these are some terms relating to measurement of poverty. Now finally the causes and remedies. So what are causes of poverty? So causes can we say similar to that of unemployment and inequalities? Yes or no? Like unemployment is one reason for poverty or not? If people may be employed, they at least can get basic amenities. So unemployment is a cause. Similarly, the reasons of inequalities are also, can we say, the reason of poverty? So same reasons. So same as that of inequalities and unemployment. So same as that of poverty and unemployment. So all those points you can mention. Any other reason apart from that which we have not mentioned there? Any point you want to add? Yes, agriculture. So you know low productivity and low incomes in agriculture sector. The overburdening of agriculture sector. So other is actually, poor status of agriculture, or you can say poor status of agriculture. We will discuss actually a lot of problems are there in agriculture. Farmers are very much vulnerable. Their incomes are too low. As per economic survey, it was mentioned that average income of farmers, median income of farmers are how much, any idea? Annual income? 20,000 rupees. Excluding the goods which they keep for production, which they keep for self-consumption, 20,000 rupees per annum. It means per month it is 1600 rupees. So farmers' average income is 1600 rupees, median income 1600 rupees. So it is too low actually. So the one most important reason for poverty and maximum poverty is associated with agriculture and rural areas.
So can you please mention the source from where you have taken this, like farmer sales?
Economic survey. This year economic survey is not released till now. Usually it is announced before budget. So now it will be announced in June before the main budget. So it was budget was economic survey of 2018. Okay, so and even before that also they have mentioned this data, 20,000 rupees, less than 20,000 rather. In last year economic survey also they have mentioned 20,000 rupees. That is so poor status of, and I think that is from sources from NSSO. Most probably that is from NSSO source. So earlier also it was mentioned in economic survey before that year also. And we will discuss situation is much worse, so we will discuss in much detail in agriculture. So this is one important reason actually, apart from that which we have mentioned there. Like now, so I think it is clear now, causes are almost similar, which we have discussed. And now remedies. Remedies or government measures, can we say similar? Yes or no? Yes, almost similar. Same. The only thing we have to add again here, because cause is this, so we have to take care of agriculture. So agricultural reforms. So separately we'll do, because agriculture is the most important topic actually in your syllabus. So we'll discuss in much detail. Too long topic. So because almost half syllabus of your mains is based on agriculture. So we'll discuss what issues are there in each aspect in detail. So agricultural sector reforms are most important to eliminate poverty. Apart from all of these which we discussed, measures to create jobs, employment, and measures to reduce inequalities. So agricultural sector reforms. Apart from that, there is one more very drastic measure which may eliminate poverty immediately. What is that? In one stroke, poverty can be eliminated. UBI, Universal Basic Income. Universal Basic Income. So I'll give you a brief idea about UBI. We will discuss in detail later because few more aspects are needed for analyzing Universal Basic Income. So can you tell me what is Universal Basic Income? UBI? Some basic income? To whom? To everybody. Universal means everybody, and universal basic income means some minimum amount usually equal to poverty line is transferred in the account of everybody without any condition. Normally in case of LPG subsidy, when you buy LPG cylinder, then government transfer subsidy, there is a condition. So here without any condition, in account of everybody, you are maybe earning or not earning, everybody's account, a fixed amount will be transferred. That is universal basic income without any condition. Let us suppose if government can transfer money equal to poverty line in account of everybody, then poverty will immediately eliminate. Yes or no? Yes or no? Poverty will eliminate, yes or no? Yes. poverty will eliminate immediately. Because who is poor? Who is not getting maybe 32 rupees? If everybody is getting 32 rupees per day, then nobody is poor. Even that a person's income may be zero. So poverty can eliminate immediately. So practically, no. Why? No, that will be indexed to inflation. That should be indexed to inflation. It should not be 32 rupees. Now we have to increase as per inflation. So poverty almost will eliminate. Means practically also will almost eliminate if government can transfer money. No. Old age pension is a particular welfare payment. Old age pension or widow pension, disability pension. So that is a conditional and selected people. This is to everybody. So is it desirable or not? What may be benefit? Briefly, if government can transfer this, the most important benefit is that poverty will eliminate. So first of all, okay, negative impact. So people may become lazy, they may not be working. Because they think why there is a need to work, we are getting this income or means basic necessities are fulfilled. So is it true now? Is it true? No. Actually, in India, two studies were conducted in Madhya Pradesh, and they have shown that when money was transferred, rather people started working more. They started taking more risks. The poor farmers started working on their own fields. So, because their vulnerability will reduce, they will not be apprehensive. Their bargaining power will increase. Now, this will happen if government will transfer very decent amount in your account. Let us suppose you may be getting 20,000-30,000 rupees per month. So then you may think, hey, why to put effort? But is it possible? 32 rupee, do you think if maybe transferred in your account, so would you be relaxed? Okay, I am getting 32 rupee. No. So if amount is high, it may be there in developed countries where the amount could be decent. But in developing countries, we cannot think of that, because even providing Tendulkar poverty line, 32 rupee is actually not feasible right now. There are issues in that because resources are limited, population is huge. So. I'll discuss that in negative income tax. I'll come to that. So, got the point here. So, as far as disincentive to work is there, that could be there if the amount is quite high, on higher side. But if you will give just negligible amount actually, then it will not work. And the experiments have shown. And apart from that, in almost of the lot of countries, it was adopted partially. Or to some extent, so that has not done disincentive to state. Almost 90% of the studies in developing countries have shown it has no negative impact on willingness to work. Rather, it has increased. So overall, this is not an issue practically in India. Yes or no? Because in developed countries, situation is different. They can give much better, much higher value. So people may have disincentive. Other thing is that there is a one. Believe that this unearned income is not desirable. Even Gandhi ji has criticized that people should not be given unearned income. So is it, do you think, other negative aspects, some people who criticize this, that unearned income is not actually genuine, it is not desirable. So we should not actually let people take unearned income. Desirable or not? Well, this argument is valid or not? Yes or no? If you are saying yes, why you are having food? Are you earning? So, if you are not earning, so why you are having food and why you have paid so much fee here? So from where? If you are not earning, so why you are having these things? So you have not earned. Have you earned? So why you are spending? So if you are actually, you think unearned income is not desirable. Now you say, okay, this is my parents' income. So nation is also just like parent. At least people should be entitled to basic amenities. Is it not? Should it not? It is not the responsibility of nation to ensure at least basic amenities to people, just like parents will ensure a comfortable living for you. Yes or no? So this is theoretical. You cannot talk about talk about morality to a hungry people. You cannot teach morals to a hungry person. So got the point or not? So hunger, is very severe thing. It's very actually devastating and very much means psychologically, degrading thing. So there is no logic of talking to morality when we are talking about for poor people, most vulnerable people. So is there any logic? No logic. Okay, any other logic? Any other argument against this? Inflation. No, inflation will be there when government will print new money for this scheme. So there is that is not logical. Government should print money. Government has to. This is a constraint rather. From where government will actually arrange those funds. So inflation may be there only if government will print money. If government divert fund from other uses to this, it will not create inflation. That is the rather problem is that from where government will arrange fund. The problem is practical feasibility. The problem is in practical feasibility. So if government will try to implement it by printing money, then inflation will be there. But that is not a solution. So overall, I think negative aspects are not there. But other points may be there. The government may transfer money, and person may be drunkard or somewhat. Person may spend money, and family may be hungry. So, but we cannot actually eliminate every problem. But I think it will be quite useful. Can you repeat? Crime rate, yes, the advantages are huge. First of all, poverty will eliminate, and that is, very important thing. That is actually for human dignity. And most important thing is that vulnerability of poor people, psychological vulnerability will reduce. Because when people are very much vulnerable, they are willing to work in menial conditions, at very low salary. So the bargaining power of very poor people will increase, human dignity will be restored, and it will have a lot of benefits actually. And as I told you, like in Madhya Pradesh, when this income was transferred, and even that was less than poverty line, what was transferred. So those people's vulnerability reduced, they started taking more risk, they started working on their own fields. So overall benefits are huge actually in psychological terms, in welfare context. Apart from that, we will discuss DBT, direct benefit transfer. So DBT is an important reform or not? It can reduce inequality, it can reduce actually leakages drastically, improve targeting, etc. So it is actually, money will be transferred through account. So it will be a big DBT. Simply, so whatever advantages of DBT are there, huge advantages are there, we will discuss in much detail. So it is actually big DBT, generalized DBT. In DBT we are transferring account. So this is actually a very important, rather landmark reform, and what I believe it must be implemented in India, but not now. We need some time. So are we prepared for DBT now fully? No. Everybody don't have bank account. Everybody don't have Aadhaar even now. So until unless everybody is having bank account and Aadhaar and even access to that account, so even DBT is not 100% feasible. So until unless DBT is feasible, we cannot go to this. So one challenge is that first we should be prepared for DBT fully. Second challenge is funding. So government should actually, because huge funds are needed. So government has to reduce, divert expenditure from maybe other subsidies, etc. In economic survey, it was suggested that government may target 75% population, not 100%, 75% vulnerable. So at least 25% people are much well off. So government should target this. And if government will target that as per Tendulkar poverty line, so government need how much? About 5% of GDP. So the money needed by government is 5% of GDP as per economic survey, 4.9 exactly percentage of GDP. Means Tendulkar poverty line indexed to inflation. Then about 5% of GDP needed. And it estimated that from where government will raise this much fund, they estimated that about 1% subsidies are meant only for rich people. So easily that 1% can be available. But it said that about 2% subsidies are there, which are benefiting means rich and poor both. So at some part of that government can get, maybe 1% additional from there. Now again 3% is remaining. So it suggested that if state government can support, because they are also giving the subsidies, they can divert some subsidies, then it may be feasible. Or they have suggested that initially what government may do, government may not cover entire, means maybe even 75%. Government may start it with specific regions, more vulnerable regions. Or government may transfer in the name of women only initially. So government may gradually expand it. So region wise or this, or maybe opt out option may be given just like in LPG. So essentially these are the possibilities. And conclusion was that in economic survey whether we should implement or not, that is actually a matter of debate. But certainly there is a time to deliberate on this, on this option. So what do you think? Conclusion, is justified or not? So it is a matter of debate whether we shall implement it or not, but certainly there is a time to deliberate over this issue. Yes or no? Yes, I think we should actually deliberate how we can implement, by what time we should implement. But certainly we are not ready, immediately we are not ready for this, because first we should go to DBT and then prepare for this, and then we have to see funding also, how it should be funded. But anyway, it will be a drastic effect, and government should maybe in future, near future, maybe in 4, 5, 6, 7 years, government may think of implementing this. This is my actually view. So any doubt in this? So we will discuss in detail because some more aspects are needed to analyze few more issues because budgeting, because financing. So in government budgeting we will discuss DBT's benefits. You should know. Then it will be. So I'll just give you a broad idea about this only. Okay. So what measures government should do? So like all the measures which we discuss in employment and this inequalities and agriculture sector reform separately we'll discuss too long topic, and UBI also because government budgeting will discuss this topic. So these are the measures to eliminate poverty. Actually, in economics, things are interrelated, interdependent. So gradually, as we'll move forward, lot of things will be more clear. Like in employment generation programs, we have discussed like Make in India, etc. But itself, it is too long topic. Make in India and startup, stand-ups, etc. So in separate topics, we'll be taking up in detail. Okay, so this is all in this chapter. But those topics which are important for means, especially like this employment is most important topic, and even poverty, even inequality. So you should go through some articles in this way. Just put, as I told you, on Google and try to correlate. If you have any doubt, you can discuss. Okay, the focus should be to understand things. What is there in the current? What are the important issues?
Sir, in causes of inequality, we discussed about inheritance laws.
Inheritance laws actually helps in perpetuating inequality because inheritance laws enable people to inherit property and normally taxes are negligible. Like in India, taxes are negligible. So it enables perpetuation of inequalities. So we have said it is one cause. Let's suppose if inheritance laws may not allow this, so then inequality could have reduced or not. Let's suppose if inheritance laws may prohibit inheritance of property. Like if a person will die, the property will be given to maybe to government or nation. Then inequality would be lesser or not? Yes or no? Yes. But I'm not saying that inheritance laws should not allow. I'm not saying, but I can say this is the cause. But although other option, middle option could be that taxes could be somewhat decent, maybe at least 10-20% property, maybe that tax may be 10 to 20% maybe or 30%. So at least a part should transfer to government, which government can spend for developmental activities. So I'm not saying that inheritance tax should not allow inheritance. Certainly they should allow. People work for their children and their children should be entitled for that. But issue is that there may be some taxes may be there. 10-20% taxes could be there so that this government can spend that money. Government's revenue should increase and government could have spent on welfare. So this is just a theoretical point, inheritance laws. So even other theoretical point can be, we can say even institution of private property. If private property may not be allowed, like in communist economies, inequalities may not be there. But that is not feasible. We should not allow because communism is not possible actually. So this is theoretical point. Even we can even say that institution of private property is leading to inequalities. So clear? So any doubt? Any article? Any doubt in any article? Anything? Okay, so this is all in this module. We have discussed actually features of Indian economy and three main important issues: poverty, unemployment, inequalities in India. Okay, now I'll take up second module, that is economic growth and development. Which index? Which index? अच्छा वो तो I have not yesterday I think. So you can just update. Because I was not able to read that. So okay, just you can update some data, but I think you can understand. Na? Now basic concepts are clear, so you can understand things. You can correlate. If you have any doubt, show me that article after class. I'll discuss. Okay, economic growth and development. Economic growth and development. Module 2. Okay, so in this module we will discuss what is meaning of economic growth and what is economic development and some other terms also, like what is inclusive growth, how it is different from these concepts, what is human development, what is human resource development, what is sustainable development. So difference in these concepts, because these terms are not same. Even minor terms, quality of life, standard of living, what is difference in these terms? Then we will discuss how we measure economic development or inclusive growth. So measures like indices are used, like which index is most common to measure economic development? Human Development Index, HDI, and lot of other indicators are there, indices, means multinational poverty index, also global hunger index, global gender gap index, happiness indices are there, like World Happiness Report. So various indices which are used to measure economic level of economic development of a country. And we'll discuss where we stand actually in those indices, in various parameters of human well-being, where we stand, like in gender disparities, in happiness indices, etc. And then we will discuss what factors affect economic development, economic and non-economic factors. And among those factors, the most important is capital formation, investment. So we'll discuss some detail how it promotes economic development, capital formation. And finally, some goals are fixed at global level relating to development. Which goals? Sustainable development goals. And before that, there were MDGs. So brief comparison with MDGs, SDGs, how they are better, what are new dimensions in SDGs. So these things we will discuss. Okay. So I repeat once more, in first chapter we have discussed Indian economy and some socio-economic issues. Here we will discuss the meaning of growth and development, how we measure them, where we stand in various indicators of development in the world, and what factors affect development of any country or any economy. Okay, so this is these are the topics in this economic growth and development. Now we'll start with first topic, basic concept, that what is meaning of economic growth. So can you tell me what is economic growth? So this is very simple. Economic growth means what? Increase in GDP. So increase in GDP, and or we can say in a more simple word, increase in production of goods and services. So just very simple. So just write down a simple definition. I have one more session. Since we are starting a new chapter, so at least you should start from new page. So how much money you can save? Because organization is very, very important. Learning means organization. If information is not properly organized, you can never learn that. Because long-term memory is properly organized. It is called semantic memory. So semantic means meaningful. So you have to make things meaningful and organize. So until you properly organize, it is difficult to learn. Okay, so at least chapter, topic, subtopic, so that should be clear. Because ultimate objective is not just to write, objective is to learn and understand. Okay, so economic growth. So we may mention simple definition. Okay, it refers to the process of increase in production of goods and services. Process of increase in production of goods and services in an economy. Increase in production of goods and services in an economy over a, in bracket, long, over a long in bracket, period of time, over a long period of time, long in bracket. Because long may or may not be mentioned, over a long period of time. So we may say over a period of time only, or even over a long period of time. Because usually when we compare growth, so we compare with what? Like growth in this month maybe. So we compare with the same month of last year. When we talk about the financial year growth, like last year, what was our growth rate? As per advance estimate, last year means actually not last year, rather the current year. It is still going on, 2018-19, because this year will end on 31st March 2019. So in this year 2018-19, what is expected growth? Advance estimate 7.2%. So it means that in 2018-19 we will produce 7.2% more goods as compared to previous year, that is 2017-18. Okay, so when we compare growth of any time period as compared to the same time period of previous year. So usually we compare over 1 year, so that is supposed to be in general long period. Okay, so either we can say over a period of time or long period of time. So definition is simply, I think very simple, it is a process, growth, of increase in production of goods and services in an economy, overall economy. So it's a macroeconomic concept, over a period of time or long period of time. So meaning is clear. Can we say increase in GDP also? is also economic growth? Yes, just like I told you, economic growth last year was 7.2, that was actually increase in GDP. To mention that, other definition, it refers to persistent increase in, it refers to persistent increase in real GDP. Refers to persistent increase in real GDP or real per capita income. Persistent increase in real GDP or real per capita income.
Sir, why do you put real?
Real, I told you, real because I'm saying GDP means we produce 100 goods quantity and price was 10 rupee. So value of GDP 1000 rupee. This year production remains same, price increase. So GDP may increase. Let's suppose only 100 goods are produced, each good of 10 rupee, value of goods produced is GDP in simple words. So this GDP has increased. Now can we conclude that economy is growing? No, but GDP has increased because of inflation. So when we say real, we have to keep prices constant. So in chapter 4 we will discuss this in detail. When we say real GDP, GDP at constant prices. We select a base year right now 11-12. So we estimate production of this year as well as last year at the same price. So we have to keep the prices constant. Then actual growth will be reflected. So real GDP means that actual production should increase. It should not be value increase because of inflation. So inflation impact we have to eliminate. The meaning is clear. So increase in real GDP or real per capita income is actually economic growth. So in this definition I have used the word persistent increase. So in previous definition I have said over a period of time or long period of time. So both are used almost interchangeably. So increase in GDP is economic growth. So logic is clear. Any doubt? Okay, other concept is economic development. Economic development. Economic development. So what is meaning of economic development? So any idea? Both are same or different? What is development then? Means growth along with social welfare. It means not only production should increase, but people's well-being should improve. Okay, to mention this simple definition, it refers to that process of economic growth. It refers to that process of economic growth which is accompanied by improvement in well-being of people. Which is accompanied by improvement in well-being of people. That process of economic growth which is accompanied by improvement in well-being of people. That process of economic growth which is accompanied by improvement in well-being of people. Okay, that process of growth which is accompanied by improvement in well-being. Here improvement in well-being, like any example? Which thing may reflect improvement in well-being? Education, health, situation should improve, people should have basic amenities, poverty should reduce. That is actually improvement in well-being. Okay, so and also mention one more definition of economic development. So it refers to progressive changes. It refers to progressive changes in the socio-economic structure. Progressive changes in the socio-economic structure of an economy. Socio-economic structure of an economy. So both definitions are same or different? Progressive changes in socio-economic structure of an economy. Same or different? Same. What are progressive changes in economic structure? Progressive economic changes. GDP increase. Any other? Shifting of labor from agriculture to better sectors like industry and services. So this is okay. Formalization of labor force. This is economic structural changes actually, and social changes like poverty, health, education, etc. So these are social changes. So progressive social and progressive changes in structure, socio-economic structure of an economy. So this is actually economic development. So I think difference is clear. Earlier, economists were using these two terms interchangeably till 1950s. But now, actually since 50s, these two terms are used separately. So meaning is different. So this is the basic difference we have discussed. Now we will discuss few more terms, points of distinction. Okay, so make just this kind of table. So this is a basic definition, basic difference. Now few more points of distinction. So what is economic growth? The definition is very simple, increase in production. And obviously production of what? Goods and services? So production increase simply. Okay, it is same which I have dictated. In one word, I have dictated this only. Similarly here, I have dictated just broadly two words here for this. Production plus actually social welfare. Okay, so in definition I have dictated this thing only. So production increase plus social welfare. Okay, other is economic growth. Can we measure this with precision? Can we measure? We can measure. Can we measure this? Exactly, can we measure? How much development? 3%, 5%? No. So it can be quantified or not? Yes. We can, as we said, this year economy is expected to grow at 7.2%. Means exactly we are expected to produce 7.2% more goods and services as compared to previous year. So it is a quantitative concept. Quantitative concept. Okay, because quantitative concept means we can quantify it, we can measure it with precision. So quantitative concept. Now can we measure this with precision? Exactly, development has increased by 3% or 7.8% or 7.2%? No. So we can actually, can we say but it has improved or deteriorated? Yes, so it is a qualitative concept. Qualitative concept. Okay, or can we say it is quantitative as well as qualitative? What is better to say? Qualitative only or quantitative both? How many concepts are there? One or two? Economic development is one concept or two concepts? Two concepts. एक economic है, एक development है. It is one concept. It is one concept. Got the point? Economic development does not mean two concepts we are talking about. We are talking about economic development. So it could be either quantitative, it could be either qualitative. So some dimensions can be quantified, but not all dimensions. So overall it is qualitative. We cannot overall measure this. Concept to overall one hai. So what the point here? Like this is in some books there is confusion. They have mentioned is quantitative as well as qualitative. Got the point? It is not logical. It could be, should be. So it is not. It is one concept only. Some dimensions are quantitative. Some are qualitative. It is certain. But some dimensions. Overall concept is one. It could be either quantitative or qualitative. So overall it is qualitative. Any doubt in this logic?
HDI.
We'll come to HDI. HDI is quantitative. We can quantify HDI. Okay, so economic development logic is clear. It is not, we cannot say quantitative plus qualitative. In some books this mistake is committed. But this is not different. Yes, we can say some dimensions could be quantified. But overall concept is one. Overall concept cannot be quantified. Logic is clear? Okay, other is how many dimensions are there? One, too many. One, which is the dimension? Only one, production. So unidimensional. It is a unidimensional concept. Unidimensional concept. It is a unidimensional concept. And how many dimensions are there? One, two, or many? Multi-dimensional. Because you know this social welfare depends on a lot of dimensions like education, health, poverty, inequalities. Lot of dimensions are there. Political liberty, environment. So multi-dimensional. So this is a unidimensional concept, this is multidimensional, various dimensions are there. Okay, other is that कि economic growth, it can be regarded as an objective in itself, an end in itself. Can it be ultimate objective of an economy? Yes or no? No. Do we want to produce more for the sake of production? No. It is just a means. When goods will be there, then overall standard of living will improve. So it is just a means. It is just a means of what? Why we want to produce goods? Common sense you can apply. For development, for anything well-being. If you have access to more goods and services, your welfare will improve. So, this is not an objective. This is just a means. You are attending classes here. Why? Just for attending classes? No. For qualifying this exam. Got the point? So it is means only, attending classes. And if a person may attend classes in all coachings maybe 10 times. So ultimate objective is what? To qualify exam. This is just a means only. Okay. So similarly, increasing production is means. Ultimate objective is to enhance well-being of people. Because well-being will increase when you get more goods and services, your basic amenities will be fulfilled, then well-being will increase. Can we say can be an ultimate objective? An objective in itself, an end in itself? Yes, it is an end in itself. So it is an end means objective. So it may be ultimate objective to enhance well-being of people. Which is easy to achieve? Which is easier? Growth is very easy. Increasing production is easy, relatively. So can we achieve this without economic development? Is it possible? Production will increase without improving welfare? Yes. To mention that it can be achieved. It can be achieved without economic development. Maybe achieved. It is easy. It can be achieved without economic development. Means relatively this is easy to achieve. So economic development may not be there, it can be achieved. Now, can we achieve this without economic growth? Means we cannot say 100% ke not possible, but it is could be very rare कि when we achieve development without this only, because this is much easier thing. So we can say very rarely it can be achieved. Means it can seldom be achieved. So mention that it can seldom be achieved. Seldom means rare. So it can seldom be achieved or rarely be achieved without economic growth. So mention that it can economic development. It can seldom, SELDOM, seldom be achieved. It can seldom be achieved without economic growth. So it can seldom be achieved without economic growth. So I think that's clear. So it may be rare. There may be economic development, but we cannot rule out the possibility. We cannot say it is impossible to achieve this without this. Because now is it possible can we achieve development without this? Possible or not? Yes, possible. Because total production may not be increasing, but inequalities may be reducing. So overall, this can be achieved. But it is very rare. Clear? Another is, what are indicators of economic growth? When we talk about, growth or development, we always say real GDP. Real GDP means actual production should increase. So, real GDP. Can we also use real per capita income? Real per capita income. Could be shown when average income may be increasing or production may be increasing. So real GDP or real. So I repeat once more, whenever we talk about growth, we never say GDP. We always prefix this real, because we must take into account actual increase in production. It should not be just value. Which is more commonly used? GDP or per capita income? More commonly, I told you our economy grew at 7.2%. So GDP. World economy grew at about 3.6%. So which was that? GDP. So usually growth is compared by GDP. So it may be used, but usually we use GDP only. What are indicators? Indicators here? Like HDI. Human Development Index. Any other? Only one indicator. MPI even? Earlier, some indicators were used like PQLI, Physical Quality of Life Index. Briefly, we will discuss. Even per capita income was also used for this. So we will discuss actually. Even real PCI was also used. Real PCI. So we will discuss few indicators. Lot of indicators are there. So separately, each indicator we will discuss in much detail in a separate section. Okay, Human Development Index is based on what? Health, education and standard of living, per capita income. Okay, so MPI we have discussed already. So basic difference is clear between economic growth and economic development. Okay, this is the difference in economic growth and economic development. Now, another term is inclusive growth. Inclusive growth. So can you tell me what is inclusive growth? Growth is contributed by whole society. So it is close to which one? Economic development. So close to economic development. Okay. So what is difference in inclusive growth and economic development? Can you tell me the difference? Or same? Economic inclusive growth is same as economic development. Inclusive growth is? Inclusive growth is aim of economic development. Economic growth which is percolating. So economic growth, you mean to say it is more close to economic growth? Which one is most comprehensive out of these? Inclusive growth. How it is more comprehensive? More people are considered. No, this is also multidimensional. Include both growth and development. No, development already include this. Or just write down definition first. That will be more clear. So definition, to mention that this United Nations Development Program, UNDP. United Nations Development Program, UNDP. So first, it is a process as well as to mention that UNDP has defined it as the as in inverted commas, it is the process. It is the process as well as outcome. It is the process as well as outcome where all groups of people. It is the process as well as outcome where all groups of people have participated. All groups of people have participated in the organization of growth. Where all groups of people have participated in the organization of growth and have benefited equitably from it. 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 Inverted commas close. Okay, I repeat. As per the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, actually HDI is published by UNDP only, even as I told you MPI. So it is a process as well as outcome where all groups of people have participated in the organization of growth and have benefited equitably from it. This is the, now, which is broader, economic growth and economic development. Growth, development or inclusive growth? Inclusive growth. How? How it is, which it is broader than economic development. So it is also talking about outcome, it is itself an outcome. Now what is difference now rather? Just make a table. Economic development and inclusive growth. Okay, so you know, economic development is what? It is an outcome. Outcome means end. As I told you, it is an end. Achha, what is end? What is here end? What is ultimate objective here? Welfare. We have to increase well-being or welfare. So end means increasing welfare, ultimate objective. So we should increase welfare of people. That is economic development. Here it is a process. And outcome. Process means actually it is a means. And this is actually the end. Matlab here outcome means welfare we have to increase. And we have to be means the manner of achieving this. Means actually the process means or means what are means, in what manner we are enhancing welfare, so which is broader. And here actually the process, the means should consider. So process का मतलब है means. Now means what? Sorry, यहाँ पे जो process का meaning है, जैसे outcome means end and process means means. So here actually ultimate objective is to enhance well-being, and here objective is to enhance well-being as well as we have to be concerned about the process of enhancing well-being, and process should be what? Process should be inclusive. Inclusive means participative. Participative means enabling everybody to participate in economic activities. How we will, so what the point here? Process means here we have to be concerned about not just welfare, but the way in which welfare is increasing. The welfare should increase so that process should be such that people should contribute in production and they should benefit from that.
So somewhere it resembles the quantitative also.
No, it is purely qualitative.
The process, become process.
No, the process is very subjective. It is not quantitative. Process, can you quantify any process? No. Process. No, process itself you cannot say it is a quantitative thing. So process includes a lot of things. Improvement in changes in health, education also is a process. So the way we are developing, it is also considered the way. And way should be what? Participative. Participative means in one word. Participative means actually participation in which? In economic activities. How people will participate in economic activities. Your focus of this is on what? Focus in one word. Which thing we need to make actually this process into inclusive process? Not equality. More important, the core of this is how do you contribute, how do you participate in economic activities? What is needed in one word? Employment. Here, focus on employment. Because you will contribute, participate in economic activities through what? Through employment. Okay, the focus is on employment here. Now, do you think, do we be also concerned about focus, or we have to focus on well-being, increasing well-being? What do you think? Should we focus on enhancing well-being, or we should also take into account the way of enhancing well-being? We should be concerned about this or not? In developed countries, they have become developed, but the process was inclusive, especially in early stages. No, there was significant exploitation that was very unjust. So that, do you think would it be desirable if they must have thought about the process also? Should they be sensitive or not? Yes. Can we say that was a failure of those countries? The process was very unjust. Got the point? Especially in early stage of development, in developed countries, in capitalist economies. That is why there were class struggles, etc. So in the last almost 1.5 decade, there is more concern about economics. We should not be focusing on enhancing well-being only. We should also be concerned about the manner of doing that. In what manner we are improving. So logic is clear. So can we say this is more comprehensive? Okay. Now next point is that if government will provide subsidy, let's suppose a person is hungry, government may provide free food to that, or UBI may be given. So would it lead to enhancing well-being or not? Economic development will be there or not? Such kind of policies are called redistribution policies, like giving subsidies, welfare payments are called redistribution. So can it be achieved by redistributive policies? Like subsidies, welfare payments? So yes, you may mention this. It can be achieved by redistribution. अच्छा, redistribution or redistributive policies can be achieved by redistribution. अच्छा, redistribution means example subsidies like food subsidy and welfare payments like old age pension. Okay, so means payment to vulnerable people, old age pension, widow pension, etc. So it can be achieved by yes or no. If let us suppose government may provide this money, or even UBI is also this is a type of means welfare payment. So if government will transfer money in the account of people, of especially vulnerable people, or may provide free food or very food at low price, so well-being will improve or not? Yes, those people who are hungry, they will get at least food. Okay, so this we can achieve by this. Now, can we achieve redistribution? Can achieve this or not? Inclusive growth. Yes or no? No. Because like when we are feeding hungry person, government is giving free food to hungry, certainly well-being will improve. But that is not a participative process. So it cannot be achieved by redistribution. So how we can achieve this? What we need? But we have to focus on employment. We have to enable people to contribute in economic activities. So redistribution cannot achieve this. It cannot be achieved by redistribution. Logic is clear, because well-being will increase, people will get access to basic amenities, but the process will not be participative here by this. Logic is clear? The difference between economic growth and inclusive growth, economic development and inclusive growth. So we should focus on which thing? Economic growth, economic development, or inclusive growth? Inclusive growth, because the focus should be, and which should be, is expected to be more sustainable. Why? Because if you enhance people capability so that they should be able to do job, then it will be self-sustaining. Here, by the time you are feeding poor person, that person is actually getting food. By the time when you stop subsidy, again that person may be hungry, may become rather more dependent on that. So what's the point? Just like they are saying, instead of giving fish to anybody, tell him how to fish. What's the point? So here focus should be on this thing. We should tell how to fish rather than just giving them, okay, just take this fish. So this is, so we should be focused on that. In the late, especially in the, as I told you, in more than one decade, the focus is gradually coming on this concept. We should not only be concerned with this, but rather this. Because earlier till 50s, both were used interchangeably. And now we are also focusing on this, we have realized that the process should also be means inclusive. So clear? Now what are components of inclusive growth? So components of inclusive growth. You know, broadly, we can divide components in two categories. One is increasing employability. Because as I told you, if we say inclusive growth, the focus of this concept is on one thing, which is that is employment. The focus on this. Now, can you tell me increasing employability? What does it mean? No, it does not mean job creation. It should be clear. It means enabling people to be employed. So it means that now it should be clear. First of all, meaning should be clear. Increasing employability does not mean employment generation. It means enhancing human capability. Okay, we have to enhance human capability. Now, can you tell me what is needed here? Yes, education is needed. Okay, so what we must focus? Education. Other? Health facilities should be given. People should be healthy, educated, yes or no? Only then they should be able to contribute to production. Other is skill development and training. So we have to enable people to actually contribute, to get job, to work. Logic is clear? Any other? Other is like access to basic amenities. access to basic amenities. Means people should have access to basic amenities. Other is, can we say equal opportunities to all? Equal opportunities to all. Equal opportunities to all. Well, the government should ensure that everybody should have equal opportunity. Especially vulnerable sections has to be taken care of. Women empowerment may be included here or not? Yes or no? Yes, women empowerment. Like, is it a part of, can we say, equal opportunities to all? Yes. So these are important components. Here focus first thing is that we have to enhance capabilities of people so that they should be able to work. Logic is clear? Any doubt in this? Okay. Now second component, now what? Okay, people are educated, healthy, trained, but second problem? We have to create jobs in the economy so that they could be absorbed. So other is employment generation. Employment generation. Now what is needed to for employment generation? We have discussed already, like, now as I told you, from where job will be created? From business. We should establish new business, so we must promote what? Investment. So as I told you, which is most important scheme to promote this? Make in India. Under Make in India, ease of doing business is being improved. Okay, like Make in India, which is focusing on improving EODB, ease of doing business, which we have discussed already. Apart from that, what other points I told you for employment generation? MSMEs, which companies have actually more job potential. MSMEs, small companies, MSMEs should be promoted. Apart from that, what point did I told you? So what is that objective? Entrepreneurship development. Entrepreneurship development, like Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra, etc. Yojana. Other is employment in other countries. No, I think we should create jobs in other countries, or rather we should encourage people to go to other countries. No, I don't think it is a design. Government of India is providing job in other countries. Government of India is providing. No, like the exchange, that is minor thing, but we cannot say that government of India should create jobs in other countries. But that may be negligible thing. No, that may be exchange something. So, but we cannot say that government of India should create jobs in other countries so that Indians could be absorbed there. And there may be some minor things like we are establishing reverse SEZ in Iran. So we will develop that area, some Indian companies will invest, some Indian people may got it, but that is negligible. They cannot say we should create job outside the country. Rather we are bothered about brain drain and so we cannot promote this thing rather. Other thing, like I told you, some sectors are labor intensive, like textiles, food processing industry, construction, clothing, shoes, etc. So what is support to labor intensive? Support to labor intensive sectors. Other point what are other points?
Diversify the sectors in Indian economy.
Diversify?
Sectors of Indian economy.
Not sectors. Labor intensive sectors. We should focus on those sectors. So yeah, sectors में we should focus on more labor intensive sectors. Focus approach will be better rather than just diversifying sectors. Other, I told you, investment, so we have written here, no factories, more jobs. Other is infrastructure is related with this, ease of doing business. Apart from that, skill development, so we have discussed already here. Apart from that, this employment generation programs, like poverty alleviation and employment generation programs. As I told you, two types of programs, wage employment, self-employment, we should promote those programs. So these we have discussed, I just gave you a brief idea, and as I told you, we will discuss in much detail later, because each point requires much time. Okay, so these are the components of inclusive growth. We first of all we have to enhance well-being, or means enhance capabilities of people, enable them to work, and then we have to create jobs for them. So this is the core element of this. So meaning of this is clear. Difference is clear. Okay. There was one question in mains. They have asked what are components of inclusive growth. Second part of that question: do you think India has achieved inclusive growth? Third part of this question: suggest measures to convert economic growth into inclusive growth. Okay, so first of all, what are components? Directly you can mention this. So you can mention the definition and directly these components. Okay, now second part, do you think India has achieved inclusive growth in the recent past? Yes or no? Yes or no or middle? Answer should be middle, because both aspects are there. Certainly situation was not satisfactory. India's growth has not been much inclusive. So we should say India's growth has not been much inclusive. We cannot say not inclusive, but not much inclusive. Now why we can say not much inclusive? Because we became one of the fastest growing economy in the world. And despite that, actually, the condition of social aspect, like in job creation, is it satisfactory? No, because core is job. So although improvement is there, like poverty has reduced at fast pace, but still, inequalities are still increasing. Job situation is not still satisfactory. Apart from that, I will give you a lot of data on, like in these, our situation is actually not satisfactory. On the Human Development Index, our rank is how much? 130 out of 189 countries. On most of the indicators, we are actually less than, means on the lower side of, lower half actually, on most of the indices. So overall, situation that growth has not been much inclusive. Overall, we can conclude this thing. So in that one para you can mention the positive aspects, especially the growth. So growth was there, but that was not inclusive. Although improvement in well-being is there, poverty is reducing, but poverty reducing is shows inclusive growth. No, which will show in a better position. Employment will show in a better position. So well-being is improving, but the process still has not become much inclusive because of this aspect. So in one para you may mention some positive aspect, then in one para you can mention some negative aspect. I'll give you some more data in like in assessment of economic reforms. So like especially on employment situation is not satisfactory, skill development etc. is not up to the mark. So means it is actually limited inclusive growth. So situation is not satisfactory, but certainly improvement is there. Okay, and finally the measures to convert economic growth into inclusive growth, what you should suggest? Government should enhance this and this. Government should increase education, means expenditure on health, education, these social sectors, and should enhance the effectiveness of those programs. Okay, all of these things, all these things, women empowerment programs, skill development programs should be focused. And most important is this, improving ease of doing business, etc., investment, etc. So these things actually. So these should be the focus areas of policy. So in policy, we will discuss some more aspects in some minor details. So I think it is clear. Okay, so difference is clear. What is these are three concepts: economic growth, economic development, and inclusive growth. Okay, now next is what is meaning of human development? Human development means, or just first write down definition. Because then we'll discuss. So mention that UNDP has defined it as the process of widening people's choices. Widening people's choices. Process of widening people's choices as well as raising the level of well-being achieved. As well as raising the level of well-being achieved. As well as raising the level of well-being achieved. As well as raising the level of well-being achieved. Whatever level of well-being achieved, we have to increase the well-being. So in very simple word, increasing the level of well-being. Okay, so it was mentioned in Human Development Report, which is published by UNDP, कि what is human development. So widening people's choices and enhancing well-being simply. मतलब enhancing level of well-being achieve means whatever level achieved, we have to further enhance that. So widening people's choices means what? कि normally you know कि with development choices expand. Or in other words, you know कि let us suppose a poor person. So do you think poor person has much choices? No. Like poor person want to have actually lunch. So poor person may not have much option, has few options only to buy. Few poor person want to send his children to schools. So which school? Only selected government schools may be available. So usually with development, normally choices increases or not. And can we say when you have more choices in most of the things, so your well-being will improve or not? Yes. Why? Because you will have options. So you will select which option, which will give you highest satisfaction. So your satisfaction or welfare will increase or not. So normally with development, human choices increases or not? Yes. So they have mentioned in terms of those simply means increasing human choices means improving welfare or not. Both are almost same thing. So they have mentioned in this widening people's choices and enhancing well-being. Clear? So meaning is clear. Human development. Now human development is close to which one? Which of these three? Inclusive growth or human development? Economic development. Okay. So it is close to economic development. Now what is difference then? What is difference in human development and economic development? Anil?
Economic development is about the economy and it is pertaining to human resources.
It is pertaining to economy and it is pertaining to human resource development is different thing. I'll come to you. HRD is different.
Particular well-being.
Huh? Any difference? I'm asking the difference in human development and economic development.
How we are can be achieved without planning towards.
It is showing how we are.
How we are now, मतलब सर उसमें यही पता
It-
चल रहा है ना participate करना है. ये हम सीधा
Is it showing participation?
No, sir. Only outcome.
तो आउटकम दिखा रहा है. तो इसका मतलब यू मीन टू से कि दिस इज आउटकम और ये क्या है? ये आउटकम. फिर डिफरेंस क्या है? हाँ हाँ. What is difference?
Economic development also includes increase in production. I think for human development,
It also includes increase in production. It does not increase in production. But without increase in production, I think this is difficult.
I think that is not Indian.
That is not. This is not Indian. And so I think what you want. Actually, these are very close. But you were correct as such. Actually, both are same. Human development and economic development are same, but difference is in perspective. Here, when we are talking about people, enhancing well-being of people, that is human development. When we say the same thing in the context of an economy, we mean economic development. The difference in context. When we say actually from a humanitarian perspective, the well-being of people should increase, that is human development. And when we use the same thing in the context of an economy, that is economic development.
So that's the difference.
No, not unidimensional. No. It is multidimensional. Human development needs lot of things like environment and lot of things you need. Not only one thing. So both are same. The only thing difference in context. Here, when we express improvement in human well-being in an economy, we call it economic development. So what is economic development? It is simply human development in an economy. Okay, and it is very close to inclusive growth also. We may say inclusive growth in economy. So difference is very minor. Logic is clear? So human development means means what is economic development? That is, economic development means human development in an economy. And you know HDI, does it measure human development or not? Name is Human Development Index. And this index is used to measure economic development because we are talking about a country. Human development in a country. So what the difference? The difference is very minor. So logic is clear? Okay, now next term is human resource development. HRD. human resource development. And there is one more name for this, human. What is another name? Human resource development is also called human capital formation. Human capital formation. So human resource development or human capital formation, same thing. Now again, which is more comprehensive, economic, human development or human resource development? Human resource development. Why? Because same thing, different. Human resource development is comprehensive. Why? Because resource is mentioned, so it is more resourceful. It has become most resourceful, larger. Which is comprehensive? That is capitalist. No. Ultimate, every economy want to achieve well-being. Which is broader? Human resource development. Can you tell me logic? Or just write down definition first, then because just write down simple definition. So, but it's a simple. It is not any organization definition. To mention that it refers to the process of enhancing productive potential of human beings. It refers to the process of enhancing productive potential of human beings. Process of enhancing productive potential of human beings. Okay, so objective is that we have to make human beings more productive. And how we should make the people more productive? It can be achieved by providing, also mentioned, it is achieved by providing healthcare, education, skill development, etc. Healthcare, education, skill development, etc. Okay, now you can tell me now which is more comprehensive. I have given you definition, human development and human resource development. The process of enhancing productive potential of human beings, and how we can make human beings more productive by education, training, health facilities, etc. So now which is broader? HRD is broader. Logic, to the point logic. Multidimensional, this is also multidimensional. Any logic, why it is broader? No, why it is broader? I don't understand any logic.
Human development is inclusive part of human resources development.
Human development is part of this. So this is broader. I have not understood any logic in this. The only logic which I can comprehend is that this is long, so it should be broader. Or other logic could be like resource, it is more resourceful. Even one student gave me one logic, why it is most comprehensive. He told me there is a ministry of HRD. The entire ministry is there. Actually, this is very narrow concept, very, very narrow. Because the focus is to enhance productivity only. And here overall welfare. It will not consider much psychological, social aspects. It will focus on enhancing productivity. People should be more educated, trained, so that they can contribute more to production. It views human beings merely as a resource, productive resource, nothing more than that. And this concept views human welfare as ultimate goal of all economic activity. So which is broader? This. So what I said, that student told me that entire ministry is there. I said, you have not seen the entire government. Every ministry seeks to ensure this thing. Yes or no? There is one ministry on this, and for this entire government is working on this. Every government department, every ministry, our objective is this only. Yes or no? Logic is clear. So human development is much broader than this. So here focus is on actually mainly on enhancing productivity of human beings, education, training, etc. Logic is clear. So can we say this HRD is component of this? Yes, HRD is one component of this. This is rather subset of this. So I think logic is clear. Okay, apart from that, even there are some English words. Like I told you, two words, like one is standard of living. Standard of living. And one is quality of life. Which is broader? Even in mains 2 marker question was asked earlier. What is quality of life? So, what is standard of living? What is meaning of this? I have told you already. Can materialistic? Yes or no? Yes, it is materialistic, and it is based on what? Per capita income. It is based on per capita income. Per capita income will increase. Actually, it is more materialistic only. And quality of life, it will, as the name is quality. So qualitative aspects are also there. Social and other aspects are also included here. So meaning is clear? So this is much broader in comparison between the two. Achha, now, what is relation between human development and quality of life? Can you tell me relation between human development and quality of life? Which one? Goal of human development is quality of life. No. Not goal, we cannot say. Directly proportional. Yes. Yes. Any other main difference? Human development means improvement in quality of life. What is meaning of human development? This is human development. This means enhancing human well-being. When quality of life will improve, means well-being will improve. So human development means improving this thing, quality of life. Meaning is clear. So human development simply means what? Improvement in quality of life, means welfare. Okay, so basic terms should be clear. Any doubt? There is one more term, that is sustainable development, but that is very different from these. So these are very close. So I think meaning should be clear. Any doubt in any of these terms? Okay, so then we'll take up now sustainable development, but that sustainable development is much different from these terms. Sustainable development. What is meaning of sustainable development? Any idea? In simple words. Yes, it's very simple. As the name says, sustainable development. It simply means development that could be sustained in future. And which thing actually affects sustainability? Mainly, we are degrading environment, actually depleting resources. So this is putting a question mark. It means that the development should take care of the future. Like we should actually not degrade environment, we should save resources so that this process can continue in future. So this is meaning of sustainable development. So do you need break? Yes. Okay, so 5 minute break, then we'll continue. Okay, so now next is any doubt? Okay, now sustainable development. So sustainable development in simple words, as I told you, is development that could be sustained in future, or you may mention this in simple words. Okay, mention that it refers to that process of economic development. It refers to that process of economic development which can be sustained in future. Which can be sustained in future. That process of economic development which can be sustained in future. Okay, this is a very simple definition, process which can be sustained. And a famous definition of this sustained development was given by one commission, that was actually UN World Commission. UN World Commission on Environment and Development. The UN World Commission on Environment and Development, that is UNWCED. UNWCED. So it gave definition in 1987. And who was chairman of this commission? Chairman was Prime Minister of Norway, Mrs. Brundtland. Mrs. Brundtland, the Prime Minister of Norway. And this commission was set up again in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. Rather, that is more important. Second, when it was constituted in Rio de Janeiro, and that is called what? Earth Summit. Why second one is more important? Because the second one, some decisions were taken. Okay, we have to take measures to reduce pollution, etc. That is why it is more important. So, but the definition of sustainable development usually quoted in most of the books is from this commission. So, how this commission is defined? Sustainable development. So, it may be called Brundtland Land Commission. Okay, so UN World Commission on Environment and Development. So it gave definition in this year, published one paper called Our Common Future. In that actually this definition was given. So mention the definition. So mention that it defined it means sustainable development. So it defines SD, we can say in short as, it defined SD or it as, in inverted commas, the development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations. Without compromising the ability of future generations. Without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Inverted commas closed. Okay, so in inverted commas, it is the development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It means that the present generation should meet its needs in such a manner that should not actually compromise or reduce options for them. For example, if we use up all fossil fuels, all resources, then in future the future generation may not have access to those resources, so that development may not continue. Or for example, like what we did in the last 100-200 years, if we repeat that exactly, then our time will be there in future where we will have more ACs and cars and factories, but we may not have fuel to run them, or the rate at which we are polluting, the situation may become worse for health. So this level of development cannot continue. So it means that we have to take care of future. So means so that this development could continue. So I think meaning is clear. So can we say it is related with what? Intergenerational equity. Yes. So mention that it calls for intergenerational equity. It calls for intergenerational equity. Intergenerational equity means that whatever opportunities we have this generation, future generation should have similar opportunities for development, because we should not reduce opportunity. Just like I told you, we degrade environment or reduce resources, then future generation may not have access to those resources to promote continued development. So it is, when we say equity, normally we mean reducing inequalities. Usually in economics, when we say equity, so we mean reducing inequality. But here we are talking about inequality among various generations. So meaning is clear. Apart from that, normally human activities degrade environment. Yes or no? In general, yes. But to some extent, environment can rejuvenate itself. Yes, for example, we emit carbon dioxide in various, even in our breathing, in industrial processes, vehicles. But plants can convert it into oxygen. But there is a capacity of plant or not, on an environment or not. Okay, how much oxygen they can convert to this carbon dioxide, they can convert to oxygen. If we emit carbon dioxide within that limit, then there will not be any problem. Plants will convert to oxygen. But if we emit carbon dioxide beyond that limit, so then what will happen? Percentage of carbon dioxide will increase in the air, and then it may increase temperatures, etc. There will be various problems. So there is a capacity of environment to absorb our adverse impact. So what is that capacity called?
Suppose the natural emission of carbon dioxide, then Earth can automatically sustain that carbon dioxide. But artificial carbon dioxide cannot be.
No, I'm not going details technicality. I'm saying just means up to certain extent, environment can convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. Yes. So if we emit carbon dioxide within that limit, there will not be any problem. That will be converted. If we emit beyond that, then it will lead to permanent damage. Okay. So main thing is that this is just one illustration. I mean to say we may damage environment, no problem. We may degrade environment, but there is a limit. Environment can rejuvenate itself. So within that limit, what is that limit called? That is called carrying capacity. To mention this thing, threshold is general word, na? Limit. To mention this thing, it is related with carrying capacity. It is related with carrying capacity. That is capacity of environment related with carrying capacity. That is capacity of environment to absorb the adverse impact of human activity. Capacity of environment to absorb the adverse impact of human activity. Capacity of environment to absorb the adverse impact of human activity. Even in prelims there was one question. That question was sustainable development is related with which one of the following? So the correct option in that was carrying capacity. Okay, so which of the following is related to sustainable development? So one of the correct option in that question was carrying capacity. Okay, so meaning I think is clear, very simple concept. Now what are features of sustainable development? So what are features? So can we say increase in GDP will be a feature? Yes or no? Increase in GDP or real GDP? Yes or no? Yes or no? Why not? Development is also there. It doesn't mean we have to take care of environment only. We should remain stagnant. No. So increase in real GDP. Logic is clear. So it does not mean we have to take care of environment only. The objective is that we have to develop, but in consonance with environmental conservation. Okay. Social welfare should be there or not? Yes. And third component should be conservation of environment. So these are three important features of sustainable development. Now you know first feature is feature of which one? Only one. Shows what? Economic growth. And first two shows what? Economic development. And if we develop in taking care of environment, then it becomes sustainable. So meaning is clear? So these are features of sustainable development. Okay, how many dimensions are there? Now dimensions of sustainable development? 17. You are talking about how many? 17? What are those 17? From where you got the 17 word? Goals. So that is related to this. The sustainable development goals, SDGs, are related to this sustainable development as such. No, those are entirely different things. We are talking about a concept. And SDGs are actually goals which are fixed by UNO. Earlier that name was MDG, now name is SDG. Name could be anything. Those are goals. Some socio-economic, some environmental goals are also there. But actually those are goals. So that is entirely different thing. Okay, those are goals fixed at international level. This is a concept. Okay, in that goal, the focus is on these concepts. The focus of those goals was on this thing. We will discuss in end of this chapter. Okay, dimensions. One is actually, can we say, does it have economic dimension? Yes or no? Yes. Economic dimension. Does it have social dimension? Yes. Social dimension. Does it has environmental dimension? Environmental dimension. Any other dimension? Economic dimension, social dimension, environmental, any other? Geographical? So geographical, so environment में आ गया. Any other? Political? Yes or no? It has political dimension? How? Political will? Then. So then which thing is not political will is not important for which thing? Just tell me one thing. political will is important to achieve almost everything, all goals. But political dimension, it is only 3 dimensions are there. It should be, political will is important for this and important for other things as well. For example, for education, do you think political will is important or not? So can we say education is having a very important political dimension in that itself? No. Political will is important to achieve anything. It leads to what? No, that is no. But sometimes some narrow interest may pollute something. Narrow interest is polluting this also. Like some countries are not much willing to cooperate on this environmental protection. Similarly, if somebody is having some narrow interest, so may actually, pollute anything. That is different thing. So can we say in education, political dimension is there in education as such? No, education, that is different thing. Political will is important. Logic is clear. Some distortions may be created in anything by any the other dimensions may create distortion. Okay, so logic is clear. So it has only 3 dimensions. Like one dimension is reflected here in this feature, this dimension is reflected in this feature, this dimension, only 3 dimensions. Political factors are important, obviously, not only for this but for everything. So meaning is clear. Okay, this is a 3-dimensional concept. Normally it is said that this is one dimension, these are interrelated, interdependent. Independent or interrelated? Interrelated. Usually this kind of diagram is made. One is economic, social, environmental dimension. So 3-dimensional concept. Okay, so this is the meaning of sustainable development. Now how we measure sustainable development? What are indicators? Just like economic development, we measure economic growth, we measure by GDP, real GDP. Economic development like HDI. So how we measure economic this sustainable development? So one indicator is green GDP. So what is green GDP? Because normally GDP means value of goods and services produced in an economy. So in that value, that shows that actually more GDP means more production, probably more development. But in that process, we degrade environment. So we have to adjust GDP for that or not? We should minus something from that, the extent to which we have degraded environment. So means it is simply GDP adjusted for environmental degradation. So mention this in simple word. It is the GDP adjusted for the cost of environmental degradation. GDP adjusted for the cost of environmental degradation. GDP adjusted for the cost of environmental degradation. Okay, so we should estimate money cost, money value of environmental degradation, resource depletion, etc., and we should minus from the value of goods and services produced. So that will give green GDP. Now, is it easy to estimate the money value of environmental degradation? No, it is difficult, it is subjective, So some countries have their own norms to measure environmental degradation, they calculate GDP. So in India, we don't measure green GDP right now, but we are planning to introduce this concept in India. So, and no international organization is measuring as such currently. So only theoretical concept for us right now. But in future, we are planning to introduce green GDP. So then it will be important. Then we will see what are dimensions, how it is estimated, some brief idea. Then we will discuss. So only some by and large, it is a theoretical concept. The green GDP, green GNP is same thing. GDP, GNP, by and large, they are almost similar. Minor differences there. Okay, other indicator is genuine savings. Genuine savings. Okay, so first of all, savings. Why we are talking about saving as an indicator of economic development?
But there are green taxes in some of the states. How are we?
Some states actually measure. Some government, some countries actually have their own conventions.
But Himachal Pradesh has a green tax.
Some states have their own indices, but that is not actually at national level we are not measuring till now. Okay, we are not measuring at national level. Like for example, MPI, I told you, multi-dimensional poverty index, like Andhra Pradesh has introduced this. But if government of India will introduce, that will be more important. Okay, so genuine savings. Now, why savings is related to sustainable development? Any reason? Why you save? For future. So it is related to the future, so that you can ensure better quality of life in future. So the saving, but that saving should be what? It should be genuine. So what is genuine saving? So genuine saving is equal to gross savings. Gross savings simply means total savings. Gross savings. Gross means simply total. Whatever money we are saving, that is gross saving. Okay, the gross saving, we have to minus two things. One, we have to minus depreciation. In man-made capital. Man-made capital. When we say capital, normally we mean machinery factory. Man-made mainly. So we have made machinery factory. So depreciation man-made capital, like machinery factory. Okay, for example, we say like gross and net saving or investment. For example, like we have a factory, you invested 10 lakh rupee in a factory. So stock of capital is 10 lakh. After 1 year, the value of that factory will be more or less depreciation, maybe 9 lakh, maybe 10% depreciation. And you invested, let us suppose 3 lakh rupee next year. So what is your total investment next year? 3 lakh. Acha, what is effectively how much value of factory increased? It reduced by 1 lakh and you invested 3 lakh. So net is 2 lakh. So net is actually investment, total investment we made minus depreciation. So the depreciation is reduction in value of machinery factory. So this will give what? Net savings. Okay, from gross, when we minus depreciation, we get net value. But we have to minus not only this depreciation, we have to minus what? One more depreciation in natural capital also. Man-made capital as well as in natural capital. So next is depreciation. In natural capital. Depreciation in natural capital. So depreciation in natural capital. Now you know natural capital. So man-made capital means machinery factory, what we have produced. So capital means anything which assists in production process, like machinery will help in production process, further production. So what is natural capital? So can it be well defined? Yes or no? No. All those things which national things which assist in further production process. So it is not very well defined. So is it? Do you think is it easy to estimate this? No. Or is it easy to estimate this depreciation in man-made capital like machinery? No. Even there is a lot of subjectivity in estimating depreciation. So is it practically possible to measure? No. It is just a theoretical concept. So we you should have a broad idea only the concepts. Genuine savings. Total saving means gross saving minus depreciation in man-made capital, machinery factory as well as in natural capital. But it is not measured, only theoretical concept. So there are some other indices which also takes means anything which takes into account environmental aspects. So then those actually are indicators of sustainable development. Depreciation in man-made capital means machinery. If you have made a machinery, you have bought a machine, and if you use it for some time, and the value will reduce or not, that is depreciation. Depreciation means reduction in value of any machinery. Or you buy a car, so after 1 year maybe the value will be somewhat less or not. That is called depreciation, reduction in value of any asset. So due to use or even lapse of time. So in national income we will discuss in detail this thing, gross and net concept. So you should mention depreciation in man-made capital as well as in natural capital. But it is not well defined, it is very subjective. So that is why it is not measured now. Okay, so most of these concepts are theoretical. Okay, now what are threats to sustainable development? So most important threat is depletion of resources. Depletion of resources. Resources are of two types. renewable and non-renewable. Now where we must be cautious? Non-renewable, because we have limited stock. If we will use them, then we may not have access in future. This is the problem. So we have to take care of resources, or depletion of resources, because usually we need resources for promoting development. So this is important thing. Second thing is degradation of environment. Degradation of environment. Any example of environmental degradation? One very common thing is, the common problem is this pollution. Other problem may be yes, soil erosion, desertification. Yes, others deforestation. Etc. So you will discuss in geography in much detail, geography and environmental section. Actually, it's an interdisciplinary concept. So now this is by and large geography and environmental section. You will discuss in much detail types of environmental degradation. Okay, and one more thing relating to these things is what loss of biodiversity. Loss of biodiversity. Loss of biodiversity means animal and plant species are gradually increasing or decreasing? Decreasing. So what is problem? If some plants may not be there or animals may not remain in future, what is problem? The most important thing is that the ecological cycle may collapse and it may have various adverse consequences actually on even natural disasters, etc. Other thing is that we need some plants and animals for our food and medicine, so we may not have access to that food or medicine. The most important threat is ecological cycle may be disturbed. So, and climate change means its stresses, especially in agriculture, is increasingly becoming visible. In this economic survey, there was a chapter, environment changes actually, temperatures are increasing gradually, rainfall is gradually reducing, and not only reducing, variability is also increasing. Somewhere there is flood and other part there is drought. So it is having adverse impact on agriculture. So this means question mark on sustainability is already is there. So these are the main threats to sustainable development. So now what measures are needed? So measures are very simple. We have to take care of these things. So for example, like so in environmental section you will discuss in much detail. So briefly, I will briefly discuss here. Like as far as resources are concerned, we should be very cautious while using which resources? This non-renewable resources. We should actually reduce consumption. We should be cautious while using, and we should develop alternates. So alternates in the sense non-conventional sources of energy like wind energy, solar energy, and other actually means of energy we should use. Okay. Other thing, do you think renewable resources, we shall use them as much as possible? Not to all. Yes, just like sunlight, we can use as much as possible. But for example, water is also a renewable resource, but we cannot use water in unlimited quantity. If we keep on pumping water out from ground, then ultimately there will be shortage, and that has happened. So water is so much scarce. So even some of the renewable resources have some limits. So we shall use these resources to the extent to which environment can replenish them. So if we will use beyond that, then it will create problem. Just like we should pump out water from the ground depending on the capacity of seepage. Okay, how much water is seeping through rainfall? So we should drain not more than that. So I think what the point here? In renewable also we have to take care of limits. In some, not in every renewable resource. Like wind, you can use whatever you can, or solar, you can use whatever you can. But in water we have to be cautious. Other is what we should do, like in industry, we should actually focus on recycling or mining. Mining should be replaced by. There are two benefits of this recycling. One benefit is actually that it will save our resources, because if you keep on mining, so then resources will deplete. And second thing is that it will reduce pollution also, wastage and pollution. So we should be recycling these, resources will be saved and pollution will reduce. Other than which type of goods we should not produce? Like non-biodegradable things like polythene, etc. They are creating pollution. So non-biodegradable should not be produced. Non-biodegradables like polythene, plastic, etc. should not be produced. Other in agriculture, what kind of agriculture? Organic farming. Means use of organic fertilizers like vermicompost, compost or plant residue, cow dung, and means environment friendly technique we have to adopt. Other is like if we talk about in pure economic terms, then in pure economic terms, one thing is that we can say that product subsidies should be eliminated. Rather, they should be replaced by DBT, direct benefit transfer. Product subsidies means like government is giving subsidy on any product. For example, government was giving subsidy on LPG. So you know when price will come down, so people will overuse or not. Normally when things are cheaper, people buy more or not, and people don't save much. For example, if electricity is subsidized, it is cheap, so you may not bother switching off tube light maybe for a few hours. You think okay, hardly bill is just 50 rupee, 100 rupee, so it hardly matters for you. So if things are expensive, usually people are cautious. So product subsidy reduces price, just like in fertilizer, like urea is much cheap, so farmer just over apply that fertilizer. So I think it is clear. So when product subsidy, now when you buy from the market, direct benefit transfer means government should transfer money in the account of people directly. That is much better, because product subsidy reduces price of products and people overuse them, people waste them. So this is undesirable. I think clear. So from economic perspective, we can say subsidy, one of the problem of subsidy is actually this depletion of environment. Subsidy means create this problem, environmental problem also. So that is why DBT is better. Other is pure economic terms is poverty. Yes, we have to alleviate poverty. Why? Because poverty alleviation is not only, poverty reduction is not only important for actually achieving social objectives but also environmental objectives. Because you know very poor people, they degrade environment more. Why? Usually pollution and other yes. So actually poverty alleviation is important for environmental conservation as well. Clear? So apart from that, very poor as well as very rich people, they degrade more or less. Yes, very rich people also, they consume lot of resources like energy, etc. and wastage usually. So very poor, very rich, both degrade. But we cannot say we should reduce very rich people also. But we can say inequalities should be reduced. But poverty certainly should be eliminated. And apart from that, other is that economic incentives should be there. Economic, just like pollution taxes, like we can say polluter pays principle to be adopted. Economic incentives like pollution taxes. If government may impose taxes based on the pollution. Carbon taxes. Apart from that, just like when government increase some taxes on petroleum, government said it will serve as a carbon tax. It will discourage people to use more fuel. Apart from that, subsidies for like solar panels, etc. So which government is doing? So these are mainly pure economic things. Apart from that, other things are general, like means we can say public awareness should be increased. Apart from that, local bodies should take up environmental conservation programs. Just like in last year's budget, government announced Govardhan program. Like a cow dung could be put in a dig, so this will help in actually it may develop this natural gas, as well as that will help dung will be converted to compost and vermicompost. So this means local bodies can play an important role, should actually initiate such programs and awareness, etc. Apart from that, some laws related to environment, there are some flaws in laws and even in implementation. So effectiveness of implementation should be increased. Reforms in laws, environmental laws, forest laws, environment. So you will discuss in much detail what are laws, what issues are there, what are issues in its implementation. And most important thing is that it is not a local problem, it is a global problem. So most important thing is the international cooperation. That is most important. So, and finally international cooperation. So lot of treaties have been signed, lot of measures are there, commitments have been made by countries. So you can mention that also, international cooperation. Polluter pays principle. Polluter pays principle means कि taxes, pollution taxes should be there or carbon taxes should be there to discourage this use. So these are general measures. You will discuss in detail in environmental section. So this is just a brief idea I gave you. So in much detail you will discuss in environmental section. So here I focus more on economic aspect. This is meaning of sustainable development. Okay, so we have discussed various types of actually concepts here, meaning of growth, development, etc. Now next in this topic we will take up the indicators, how we measure economic development. So indicators of economic development. Indicators of economic development. So now we will discuss which is most important indicator. HDI is most commonly used, but before HDI, I'll give you a brief idea about few indicators before HDI. So one indicator was new, net economic welfare. Net economic welfare. So this concept was given by Paul Samuelson. So he is also a Nobel laureate, famous economist Paul Samuelson. So net economic welfare. Okay, what is net economic welfare? Actually, Paul Samuelson made some changes in GNP to make it a better reflector of economic welfare or economic development. So he added, subtracted something simply. So what is new? New is equal to GNP, and he added few things. Those things which are not added but increase welfare. And he subtracted those things which are included but those don't increase welfare. Like defense expenditure does not increase welfare directly, and it is included. So he said it should be deducted. Okay, so few things he added, few things he subtracted. Simply, only broad idea. Now, which thing he has added? Like in GDP, GNP are almost same. The GDP means produced in a country, and GNP means by nationals of a country. In simple words, in detail we will discuss in chapter 4, as I told you. So GNP means value of goods produced by nationals of a country. Plus what? You know, in GDP or GNP, do we include housewife services? No. So, but that lead to production or not? So should it be included or not? Yes. But although there is a problem in estimating value, that is why it is ignored. But he said, no, it should be included. So one is value of housewives services. Value of housewives services. Okay, so because production is there, so in GDP it is not included because it is difficult to estimate. So he said, since it is increasing production and well-being, welfare will depend on that, so you should include this also. One thing. Second thing is that, if working hours will increase, maybe in government and private sector may increase working hours, so what will happen to GDP production? Increase or decrease? Increase, but welfare will decrease because people will have less time for themselves and for their families, so welfare will decrease. So do we consider how much free time people are having, workers are having? Yes or no? So that is called what? There is a term, the free time available with people or workers in general is called leisure. So he said that value of leisure should also be estimated. Value of leisure. Leisure means free time with workers, free time. So how much free time people are having? So more free time, so obviously welfare will be affected. Because logic is clear, because when working hours will increase, means leisure will reduce, then GDP may increase, but welfare may come down. So we should not see only GDP, we should see how much people have time. Got the point here? But overall, it is easy to estimate value of that free time? No, it is very subjective. Apart from that, as I told you, expenditure on defense and civil administration, does it directly increase welfare? Let's suppose if defense production may increase, or there may be war and government may spend much more on defense, so would it increase welfare of the country?
No, sir.
But would it increase GDP or not? Yes, whatever you spend, whatever you produce, GDP will increase. So he said it is a regrettable cost. Regret it is essential, but we have to incur. Civil administration, defense, it is mandatory. It has to be done. But problem is that it does not directly increase welfare. It is essential. So he said we should minus that. So expenditure on defense and civil administration. So we should minus because it does not directly increase welfare. It is essential but does not increase directly. So expenditure on defense and civil administration we should minus. And next is cost of environmental degradation. Cost of environmental degradation. We should estimate money value of environmental degradation and we should minus from this. So logic is clear. Now, do you think is it easy to estimate new? Practically, no. Obviously, it is very subjective. Now, question is that which is a better reflector of economic development, new or GNP? Without any doubt, new is much better than GNP. But problem is that practically it is not possible to measure. This is the problem. So it is just a theoretical reason. Now it is too old, so question is not expected on this. But why I have discussed this? That because I have discussed this, the question may be that do you think GDP is or GDP or GNP is a perfect measure of economic development? Yes or no?
No.
No. So these are some things which show some flaw in GDP as a measure of economic development. So question may be that GDP is a perfect measure of economic development. So answer obviously is no. Why? Because these things are not considered here in GDP. The logic is clear. So it is very unlikely that there may be a question on new as such. But especially what are weaknesses of GNP in reflecting welfare. These things show weakness of GNP or GDP in reflecting welfare. For this point I have discussed. The only idea about this is sufficient. Clear? Okay. And earlier we were using real per capita income also. So next we will discuss real per capita income. Per capita income is PCI. What is per capita income? Is equal to national income upon population. When we say real, we take into account national income at constant prices, base year prices. So it's same thing actually. Formula will be same only. Real, when we write real here, we have to take national income at base year price simply. So national average income in simple word is per capita income. So do you think this is a satisfactory indicator? Is it a satisfactory indicator of economic development? Yes or no? Why not? Okay, if it is not, so why not? Does not include all dimensions. A lot of things are there. It shows average income only. Now, so it is regarded as, so it should be indicator of which thing? I told you already. Per capita income is an indicator of which thing? Standard of living. Standard of living. So mention something about this. So mention that it is regarded as an indicator of standard of living. It is regarded as an indicator of standard of living. And also mention it is not a satisfactory indicator. It is not a satisfactory indicator of economic development. It is not a satisfactory indicator of economic development. Not a satisfactory indicator of economic development because A point. A point is that it is based on national income, NI in short. It is based on national income, NI, which itself is not a satisfactory indicator. It is based on national income, NI, which itself is not a satisfactory indicator of economic development. Why? What example? Like, which thing we can say why national income itself is not a satisfactory indicator? These points you can mention. Okay, national income, these things are not included or this is included. Okay, one thing. Second point relating to this, B point in this, relating to this is, it does not takes into account composition of national income, NI. In short, NI you can mention. It does not takes into account composition of national income. Composition in the sense, if production of tobacco, alcohol, or defense equipment will increase, would it increase welfare? But national income will increase. That is, it also includes, you mentioned, that is, it also includes production of tobacco, cigarettes, alcohol, etc. Production of tobacco, cigarette, alcohol, etc. Which does not increase welfare. Production of tobacco, alcohol, cigarettes, etc., which does not increase, which do not increase welfare, because we are talking about various things which do not increase welfare. So production of alcohol, production of tobacco or cigarette, do you think would increase welfare in society? No. So, anything you produce, net per capita income will increase. Logic is clear? So this thing also shows weakness of this. So first 2 points are almost related. Now next C point. Even if average, this is what? A simply average. But if average income is high, can we be sure that there will not be poverty? No, there may be inequalities. So next point, it does not takes into account distribution of national income. It does not takes into account distribution of national income, that is inequalities. It does not takes into account distribution of national income, NI, that is inequalities. Okay, so if average income is high, there is no guarantee that everybody will have access to even basic amenities. Inequalities may be there. And the last D point and the most important point in this is, now the most important point is that it is silent on the welfare dimension. It is silent on the welfare dimension of economic development. Welfare dimension of economic development. With means namely, so we are that with education, health, psychological well-being, political liberty, clean environment, psychological well-being, political liberty, clean environment, etc. So do you think welfare depends on these factors or not? Like political liberty is also important for welfare, clean environment is also important, psychological well-being, psychological factors, even social factors, poverty, education, health. Does it tell anything about these factors? Per capita income may be high. Does it show these things may be there? No. So is it a satisfactory indicator? No. Even black money is not shown. That is also weakness of national income. National income does not include black money. So is it? So got the point here? Why then it was used earlier? Earlier it was used. Why? Earlier it was used. Reason was that this kind of measures are actually, they don't have practical application because of they are subjective actually. At least it is quantitative, so it could be measured. But is there some correlation? Is there in economic development and per capita income? Some correlation is there or not? Yes. If average incomes will increase, then gradually it is obviously people can have access to at least basic amenities. So there is some correlation, but there is no guarantee. So since there is some correlation, that is why it is used, but certainly not satisfactory. And much earlier, before till 1950s, economic growth and development were not differentiated by economists. So this is also one reason, because till 1950s economic growth and economic development were not differentiated. And even after that 50s, even after differentiation, this was used because of lack of satisfactory indicator. But do we use it now? No, because we have much better indicators like HDI. So I think logic is clear. So it is not used now, but used earlier. Okay, so why I have discussed, because there was a question in means real per capita income as an indicator of economic development. Comment. Okay, the question was real per capita income as an indicator of economic development. Comment. What you have to say? This thing simply. Okay, obviously it is not satisfactory because of these reasons. Although it shows standard of living, one part only of that. Some correlation is there, but there is no it is not a satisfactory indicator. So logic is clear. If same question could be asked for GDP or national income is a, do you think GDP is a real GDP is a perfect is a satisfactory indicator of economic development? Yes or no? Yes or no? No. Yes तो लॉजिक ही नहीं है. Yes मतलब no, why no? What points you will write? You can put these points. These only. All of these also. Yes, all of these, because these are mainly based on this. So all of these points you can mention. If there is a question on GDP is a satisfactory indicator of economic development, so or national income, GDP and national income are somewhat similar. We may add, subtract something in GDP, we get national income. So logic is clear. Now again, if I ask a real per capita income, does it reflect economic welfare to some extent? Yes or no? Same I can say for real GDP. Can we say real GDP reflects economic development to some extent? Yes or no? Yes or no? I repeat the question. Ki real per capita income reflects economic development to some extent? Yes. So same I can say for GDP. Real GDP reflects economic development to some extent. Yes or no? Nobody is saying no. My question is that real GDP reflects economic development to some extent. Yes or no? Answer is no. Real GDP does not reflect economic development at all. Why? If real GDP may be a reflector of economic development, then India must be, our real GDP is more or less? Not more, one among the highest in the world. Actually, we are third largest economy. National income is one among the highest. So we must be the most developed country from this criteria? No. It shows size of economy. It does not show welfare. Logic is clear? Certain increase in GDP may show progress, not the level. It shows in which direction we are moving. So logic is the real GDP does not reflect welfare at all. Logic is clear? Increase in GDP may reflect progress. But at what level, at this level or this level of welfare we are, even increase in GDP does not show that. GDP does not show at all anything about where we stand in welfare.
So
the logic is clear?
Per capita income expressing or is a reflection of
to some extent. Per capita income to some extent reflect well-being. To some extent.
Again, national income divided by population is equal to per capita income. Doesn't necessarily mean the poorest are having the average income as well.
So that's why I said in negative aspect. I have told you already, it is not a satisfactory.
So similarly, like since real GDP cannot be an indicator of the economic development, so the
Real GDP does not, to some extent, it reflects economic development. Yes or no? To some extent, yes or no? Yes. Real GDP reflects economic development to some extent? No, not at all. Because our national income on GDP is high or low? It's too high. It's third highest in the world. Despite that, level of development is not satisfactory in India, is low. So real GDP does not show level of development at all. Still in doubt?
just on the basis of considering the size of economy, we are having this point.
No, simply our GDP is more than that of Australia or not? Yes. Our GDP is more than that of UK or not? Yes. So are we developed than those countries? Are we developed? No. So real GDP shows size of economy, not the level of welfare.
My question is, same thing can be applied to the per capita income as well. Since real GDP does not reflect the economic.
No. We cannot say for real. We can say real per capita income can reflect economic welfare to some extent. To some extent, not a satisfactory indicator. There is some correlation between real per capita income and economic development. Yes or no? Some correlation is there or not? Yes. But we cannot say same thing for real GDP. I think very simple. Okay, after class we'll discuss. I think it should be clear to everybody. देखिए अगर पर कैपिटा इनकम हाई है तो हम कह सकते हैं कुछ हद तक के वेलफेयर होगा, कुछ कोरिलेशन है नहीं है, लेकिन जिस कंट्री की जीडीपी हाई है उसके लिए डेवलपमेंट हाई होगा कहना सही है? नहीं. बेस्ट एग्जांपल इंडिया है. यस और नो? इसके लिए इंडिया से अच्छा कौन सा एग्जांपल है कि जीडीपी इतनी हाई है और लेवल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट इतना मतलब सेटिस्फैक्टरी नहीं है. Okay, so this is now one more indicator which was used earlier. Briefly, we'll discuss that indicator. Third indicator is PQLI, physical quality of life index. PQLI. So physical quality of life index. So physical quality of life index. So it was developed by, just mentioned that, M.D. Morris. It was developed by M.D. Morris in 1979. Developed by M.D. Morris in 1979. It is based on three components. One is infant mortality. So based on three components. One is infant mortality. So what is infant mortality rate? IMR? Infant means up to which year? How many years? 1 year. Infant is up to 1 year. Usually when we say child, usually we consider 5, but child could be above 5 also. So infant is up to 1 year. Neonatal is up to 1 month. Okay, so infant means up to 1 year. So how many infants means children within 1 year? How many are dying out of usually 1,000? So if more infants are dying in a country, so can we say that economic conditions must be poor there overall? Yes, because certainly there must be some problem. Like those infants may not be getting proper nutrition or health facilities, or there may be some, their parents may be in stress. Some problems must be there. I think it is clear. Second is life expectancy. At the age of 1 year. So what is life expectancy?
The amount of, like the age by which a person, according to the trend of particular country, is expected to live.
In simple words, we can say every lifespan of people. So if people are living longer life in a country, then can we say that level of well-being should be high or not? Yes, because if you know there will be some problems, whatever, maybe nutrition, health, or even stress, will affect life expectancy or not? Life reduces. So overall diseases, etc. means other things. So life expectancy. How it is defined exactly? Life expectancy, normally when we say life expectancy, we usually talk about life expectancy at birth. But here they have taken 1 year because they have taken infant mortality. So life expectancy is defined at birth is defined as that if a child is born, so how many years a newborn child is expected to live if similar socio-economic conditions will prevail throughout the child's life. Okay, so but normally we can estimate how much is average lifespan of people. Here it will be defined as that how many years a 1-year-old child is expected to live if similar socio-economic conditions will prevail in future. So in simple words, average life. If people are living longer life, so obviously level of development should be better or not? Yes. Now I told you that there is a correlation in per capita income and economic development. Yes or no? Now the correlation between these things and economic development should be higher, or with per capita income should be higher? The correlation between economic development and per capita income should be higher, or economic development and these things should be higher? These should be higher. These directly reflect a lot of things which are which reflects well-being actually. So I think it is clear. So can we say this should be better than per capita income or not? Yes. And he took one more thing. One is adult literacy. So what percentage of adults are literate? So literacy is also a basic amenity. So he estimated on the basis of these three parameters. So he gave the value between 0 and 100 to each index. Okay, so it means that if infant mortality is high, then level of development should be low and value should be low. If this is high, higher value, this is high, high value, and average of the three give PQLI value. And country having highest PQLI value means the level of development should be highest in that country. So this was used widely till HDI was introduced. Now HDI is much better than this, then now we don't use this. Once there was a 2-marker question was asked in me, so only some broad idea is sufficient. Okay, so direct question is not also expected on this because now much better indicators are there. But earlier it was used. HDI came in which year? 1990. It means that from 79 till 1990, means in entire 80s, this was widely used in the world. So that is why I should have only idea, because earlier it was widely used. So now now the most important indicator is HDI. Now we'll discuss HDI in some detail. Human Development Index. So Human Development Index. Human Development Index, HDI. So you know which agency, which organization developed this? UNDP. To mention this thing, it was developed by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, in 1990. And it was developed by a team of economists headed by Professor Amartya Sen was a member in that team. So the head was Professor Mehbul Haq. To mention that it was developed by a team of economists of UNDP, led by Professor Mehbubul Haq, led by Professor Mehboob ul Haq. So Professor Mehboob ul Haq, late Pakistani economist. And I'll also mention that Professor Amartya Sen was also associated with it. Professor Amartya Kumar Sen, A.K. Sen, Professor A.K. Sen was also associated with it. So he was also a prominent member. So by that time he got Nobel Prize or not? No, he got in 98. So it was in 1990. So after after getting Nobel Prize, recognition increases much more. So he was also associated with this. Professor Amartya Kumar Sen was also associated. Okay, and it is published in one report of UNDP. Which report? Name of the report is Human Development Report. To mention that it is since 1990. It is being published. It is being published in the Human Development Report, HDR. Human Development Report of UNDP. It is being published in the Human Development Report, HDR of UNDP. So Human Development Report of UNDP. So since 1990, it is being published in the Human Development Report. So HDR is published. Usually it is published every year, but sometime maybe skipped also. But usually, I think since 3 or 4 years it was not published. Otherwise, almost every year it is published. Okay, so latest was published in 2018, in I think October 2018. Okay, so it is just like it is based on 3 components. So here it is also based on 3 components. Here we use the word dimension. So they have used the word dimension to mention this. It is based on the following 3 dimensions. It is based on the following 3 dimensions. But HDI is more important, much important, so we will discuss in detail because long questions may be expected. Earlier long questions were asked, again we may expect. So we will discuss some more details of HDI. So not only dimensions, rather we will discuss some details also, like what are dimensions and how we measure them. So you have to make a table. So 3 dimensions are there. So for example, first we will discuss dimensions. Okay, for example, one dimension is what? Health. Then we'll discuss indicators. Indicators like indicator of health is life expectancy. At birth. Then values, minimum, maximum. So they have taken a round of values 20 to 85 years. So minimum 20 years, maximum they have taken 85 years. And finally dimension. Dimension indices. Dimension indices, the name of the dimension means indices is plural of index. So there is an index for each dimension. So index for this dimension is called life expectancy index because it is based on life expectancy. In short called LEI. Life expectancy index, LEI. Okay, so dimension, then indicators, then values, and then dimension indices. Okay, I repeat, for example, dimension is health. How we measure health? By life expectancy. But here they have taken at birth. So normally when we say life expectancy, we mean at birth. So it means that if means how many years a newborn child is expected to live if similar socio-economic conditions will prevail throughout the child's life. So every lifespan of people. So what is every lifespan of people? So in India, in India it is how much? It is 68.8 years. So in India it is 68.8 years. This data is from Human Development Report 2018. So on an average 68.8 years is lifespan in India. The maximum was in Japan. It was 84 point some years, close to 85. Means none of the country must have more than 85. And no country has 20. They have round off this. Every country is having more than 20. So these are round off figures. World average, I have not seen world average, but maybe somewhat higher than this. Probably close to this. Okay, so 68.8 years in India and range is this. But none of the countries having 20, but every country will be having more than 20. How we construct index separately we'll discuss. Okay, so now this leave one space here. So leave some space at about 2 lines here. Then education. Not education, rather now they are using the word knowledge. Now knowledge is measured by 2 indicators. Like health is measured by 1 indicator. Knowledge is measured by 2 indicators. One is mean years of schooling. And other is expected years of schooling. Mean years of schooling and expected years of schooling. They have taken minimum value 0, maximum 15 years. Here 0 to 18 years. Okay, mean years of schooling. What are mean years of schooling? Mean years of schooling is for people who are 25 or more. So this is for people who are equal to or 25 years. More than 25, equal or more. So mean means average years, how many years people who are 25 plus, how many years they got education. So I'll explain separately in detail. And this is for actually people below 25, means youth and children. So this is for less than 25 years. Okay. On an average, how many years the youth or children are going to school, college? Average. So this is average years of schooling. Okay, I'll explain separately, just brief idea. So this is for 25 plus aged people, this is for actually children and youth. So mean years of schooling and expected years of schooling. These are not standard terms. So we will actually, just like it is a standard term, you can see definition anywhere. So we have to see definition as per UNDP. So separately I'll explain, dictate. So minimum, maximum values 0 to 15, 0 to 18. Name of the index is education index. In short, EI. Education index. EI. Okay, now third dimension is standard of living. Standard of living is measured by which thing? Can you tell me? Per capita income, but they've technically taken GNI per capita. GNI per capita, gross national income per capita. So GNI divided by population. So it is almost similar to Similar to national per capita income, and that is in PPP dollar. PPP, I told you already, purchasing power parity briefly. In next chapter we will discuss in detail. Okay, how exactly what is PPP, how it is different from market exchange rate. So this is exchange rate based on purchasing power of currencies. It shows the real worth of our country per capita income. So per capita income is based on this. So okay, so it is GNI upon per capita. As I told you in chapter 4 we will discuss GDP, GNP. So minor differences there. So per capita income is national income upon this. So national income is net national income, NNI. So they have taken gross instead of net. So minor difference is there of depreciation. So in simple word we can say per capita income. So I think it is clear. Even in exam if they ask per capita income is one indicator, then you have to say yes or no. Yes, by and large it is per capita income. Clear? Okay, so minimum value they have taken $100, maximum value they have taken $75,000. Because there is a huge gap in per capita income. 100 minimum, maximum $75,000. That is in PPP. And name of the index is GNI index. So in short, we'll call it GI. GNI index. Okay, so these are the three dimensions, and indicators are 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 indicators and values and name. So okay, first of all I'll explain the indicators. Okay, so health, I told you already, life expectancy in birth, average lifespan, I think should be clear. And knowledge. Now it is measured by mean years of schooling. So what is mean years of schooling? Or you may mention, write down separately mention mean years of schooling. So just mention that it is the average number of years. It is the average number of years of education. Average number of years of education received by people. Average number of years of education received by people aged 25 years. Aged 25 years or above during their lifetime. So aged 25 years or above or and above during their lifetime. So those people who are 25 and above, how many years they have received education during their lifetime. So it is very simple. So how we will estimate it? Simply we will ask people, okay, how many years you got education, how many years we will take the average. Simple. Let us suppose Mr. A, they will go to one person, he said, so they will ask what is your age, he said 47 years. How many years you went to school? He said for 10 years. So why they are asking age? Because to ensure the person should be at least 25. Mr. B, let us suppose he'll ask what is your age, he said 27 years. So how many years you went to school or college? He said, I went for 5 years. He went to C. He said, what is your age? He said, I am 24. Would they collect data? No, we will drop that person. Okay. Then he went to another person, call it C. He is, let's suppose, 60 years. So he said, how many years you went to school? He said, never I went to school. 0 years. Let us suppose 3 people in the sample. So how many years? 15. So what is average? 5 years. So it means that in this country, people who are 25 plus, 25 and above, they went to school on an average for 5 years. I think it is clear. So in this manner it is calculated. It is very simple. So in India, the people who are 25 plus, how many years they might have gone to school? What is your estimate? Any idea? For how many years? Minimum 0, maximum 15. 7? 9? 6.4 years. So people who are 25 and above, on an average, they have received education for 6.7 years. 6.4 years, sorry, 6.4 years. And for this expected is for actually, children and youth till 25. So it's very simple, I think no need to dictate. So people, the children, youth who are up to 25, how many years they are receiving education on an average? Okay, on an average, how many years? So what do you think in India, the children and youth may be receiving education for how many years? Any idea? Approximately? More than this or less than this? 7? More, how much? Maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12? 8? 12? Double? 12.3 years. Yes, situation is much better now. Most of the children are going to school now. So 12.3 years on an average. Okay, so 12.3 years. So the children or youth are going to school for 12 or more years. So I think it is clear. One more thing, UNDP made some changes in the Human Development Index in 2010. So actually Human Development Report 2010 was actually was an anniversary issue. Anniversary means they celebrated 20 years of this Human Development Index and report. So they have made changes in Human Development Index. Changes means improvement was made. So I'll give you a brief idea about what changes were made. Just 3-4 changes were made. So this knowledge was measured, or even it is usually called education. Now they are using knowledge word. Knowledge education may be used interchangeably, but currently they are writing knowledge. Earlier it was means knowledge for adults was used by adult literacy earlier. Adult literacy. Okay, so you may mention just for understanding. Okay, earlier there was adult literacy. Literacy means what percentage of adults are literate. Literate means ability to read, write and understand any language. You can write something, you can read that thing, you can understand that language, any language, that is called literacy. So you may rather write and rather cut it because it is no more now. Earlier it was adult literacy. Now they have shifted to mean years of schooling. Now which one is better? So adult literacy shows what percentage of adults are literate. They know how to read, write, understand any language. And mean years of schooling, how many years they have received education on an average. Which is better? Obviously mean, that is why they have replaced. But any reason for that? Reason why it is better?
Because adult literacy, you don't know how much they got education.
Here it does not show quality of education. Means it means that like a rickshaw puller or a means laborer may know just how to write his name. That person is literate, and professor is also literate. Both are at par. Yes or no? So this is a kind of flaw here or not? Does it measure quality of education? No. In a society there may be 100% literate people, but most of the people know how to write their name. So can we say society should be educated? No. But here, if children are have gone to school for more years or college, so obviously level of education will be better. So does it reflect quality or not? Yes. So now you know कि earlier maybe 40-50 years back when even literacy was low, then it may be meaningful. Now it is becoming less relevant or not? Yes. So logic is clear. Okay. Next is expected. Now it shows what? It shows okay, on an average how many years children are going to school or children youth are going to school college. Earlier there was enrollment ratio, combined enrollment, but at all levels. Enrollment ratio or more precisely combined enrollment ratio. Combined is at all level, from school to college level. What percentage of youth are there, and whatever youth is there, what percentage are enrolled in school colleges. So which is better? Enrollment means what percentage of children are enrolled, or how many years children are going to school. Why? Why going to school? Even after enrolled they may drop out. Actually, you know, it will cover dropouts as well as late joining, because you know, if children may be joining late and maybe dropping out earlier, so average years will be less. So it will cover dropout as well as this. And here enrollment maybe a child maybe of 10 years may have just started going to school, maybe in nursery. So this will not cover that thing. So late joining as well as dropout. So obviously this expected years of schooling is better. I think what the point? So can we say this is an improvement? So rather you may cut this because it was earlier, just a kind of improvement. Okay, now one more issue we will discuss here. Can we say these things are perfect? Meaning of schooling, they are better than this or not? Yes. Are they perfect? No. Why not perfect? Because for example, if a child is going to school, has gone to school for 10 years, so can we say a level of school, the child may not be able to even pass 5th class? So number of years actually, so can we say it is perfect? It is better than this. Yes, but is it perfect? Can you suggest any better measure to measure knowledge than this one?
IQ.
Performance like
IQ.
on percentage basis. Yes, one way we can see how many marks students are getting in school college. One way. Any other way?
IQ.
IQ means we should conduct a test, separate test. We should. If assessment may be different, so marks may be different, marks may be given. This may be problem. Any other way, like we can see the graduates, PhDs, one way. One way may be what you said, that test may be conducted. Which one do you think is best out of these? One, this one, like one is that graduates, etc., number of graduates, percentage of marks, and conducting a test. Which is best? Which is best? Then UPSC must be seeing your mark sheet to select. Toppers must be selected directly. So which is best measure? Conducting test is, I think, among these is best. Now, test should be objective or subjective. Both tests measure different, abilities, different things. Now, what should be syllabus? GS, CSAT, optional, weightage, negative marking. So, got the point here? So, what you have understood here? Is it possible to measure this thing with perfection? So, you have what you understood, meaning of qualitative nature. So, these dimensions are qualitative in nature. We cannot quantify them. We are trying to quantify, but quantification is not perfect. We have made improvement in this, and probably in future certainly they will further make improvement in this, but can we measure knowledge with perfection? Yes or no? No. So similarly health. So do you think health only one indicator? There could be other indicators also? Why only life expectancy? There could be proneness to diseases, undernutrition, a lot of things are there. So logic is clear? The only broad idea you should have. I have explained the qualitative nature of this concept. Okay, and standard of living is measured by this per capita income. So per capita income, they have taken actually of last year. So I have given you that is not so important. So I already give you data, 7,000 about 800 as per this. Okay, and now one more thing here in this. Okay, so this is per capita income values they have given, and how we calculate index. So shall we take some time, because time is almost over. Shall we take 10 more minutes? Okay, so Okay, just one aspect. Now in calculation we'll go later. Just one thing. If there may be a question, one analysis only, कि HDI is a perfect measure of economic development. Yes or no? Is it a perfect measure? Yes or no? No. Why it is not perfect? So can you justify कि HDI it is supposed to be somewhat best to some extent, can we say? Yes. Even there is subjective, because even subjectivity is there, but to some extent we can say almost a best measure. But why it is not perfect? Can you justify? You know, perfect measure. So these things should be measured with perfection. No, because these are qualitative. Because as human economic development is actually what? It is a qualitative concept. So can it be measured with perfection? No. One thing. Second thing, any other reason? Okay, one thing is qualitative nature of this. It can never be measured with perfection. Other one more reason?
With changing times, the indicator will change, not overtake.
Not exactly. So why it is not a perfect measure of economic development? One reason is that the qualitative nature. Second, a perfect indicator must take into account each and every dimension. Yes or no? It is based on how many dimensions? Just 3. So can we say, is it based on, does it take into account every dimension? No. There is no political liberty, environmental dimension, lot of dimensions are there, psychological well-being. So a perfect indicator must take into account each and every dimension of the concept, and it must measure each dimension with perfection. So what the point here? So is it perfect or not? No. Logic is clear. Why not perfect? Because all dimensions are not covered, just 3 important dimensions. And second thing is that these dimensions are subjective in nature, cannot be exactly quantified. Now the question is that, is it possible to construct a perfect indicator for economic development? No. We cannot construct a perfect indicator, because this is dimensions are large number of dimensions are there, hundreds of or thousands of dimensions are there. The logic is clear. So because it is not possible to construct a perfect indicator of economic development. Now one more question. We are talking about this as a indicator of economic development. Can we consider it as a indicator of inclusive growth? Yes or no? We are considering it as an indicator of economic development. Can we consider it as an indicator of inclusive growth? Yes or no? No. So now just tell me, so which should be, if this is not an indicator of inclusive growth, which should be indicator of inclusive growth? Now if it is not I'm talking about indicator of inclusive growth. Shall we consider it? Yes or no? If you are saying no, then give me answer which should be indicator then. The answer is yes or no? Yes. It is indicator of inclusive growth. But is it a perfect indicator of inclusive growth? No. Neither perfect of this nor of this. So can we construct a perfect indicator for inclusive growth? No. So indicators, can we say, are similar? Yes or no? Indicators of this and this will be almost similar, because we can neither have perfect indicator for this nor this. So since it is not a perfect indicator, what should we do? How we should assess economic development? So can you suggest any manner, any suggestion from you? If it is not perfect, so how we have to measure economic development of country or world? So what is the approach? Can you suggest any approach? Educational reforms? We should increase dimensions. Okay, we should increase dimensions. Practically feasible or not? How many dimensions you can add? Which dimensions you will add? Can you reach perfection by increasing direction? No, not a feasible dimension. Not a feasible. Give me feasible, practical. We mix it with what? Mix, not exactly mix word is not correct, but you mean to say we should use other indicators also, which measure other aspects of human well-being. Yes or no? Yes. The only way is that we should supplement it by other indices which measure other aspects of human well-being. For example, there are some gender disparities. We measure gender disparity, like gender inequality index, gender development index, global gender gap index. So we should use that. We should use some indices which measure deprivation, like MPI and global hunger index. We should measure we shall supplement it by indicators which measure psychological well-being, like happiness report, World Happiness Report. So what should be our approach? We should supplement it with other indicators, indices, which measures other aspects of human well-being. Because, or shall we construct one composite indicator which consider everything? It's not possible. So, got the logic here? What should we approach? That is why there are a lot of other indicators which measure other aspects. So we will then after completing this, then we will discuss some other indicators which measures this. The important indicators which I told you, we will discuss all these indicators. But this is more important, so we have discussed in more detail. So it will take now. We'll continue then tomorrow. We'll continue with this. Topic I have told you already. We'll continue with this and other indicators. So tomorrow we'll focus on indicators. Indicators, and after that, if they will be over, then we'll take up the determinants of economic development. On what factors affect economic development.